welcome to Octane Online Racing. This is round 8 of the Simrigs Sprint Series. We are in the land down under atop the beautiful Mount Panorama for a 70-minute race with 2 mandatory pit stops. We are live here for Split Yellow. My name is Jean-Pierre Sonicus and I am joined in the booth by Alexis Bowen. How are we doing, Alexis?
I am doing fantastic. It is great to be at one of the greatest tracks on planet Earth here at Mount Panorama. It is a spectacle to drive and a spectacle to watch every time.
Yeah, the greatest track on Earth, I guess. I think you'll get some pushback from certain people. I'm no longer in that camp. I used to be in that camp until I sort of figured it out a little bit. But it is for sure a very, very tricky track, very prone to incidents, and it's more a war of attrition than it is an outright sprint going around Mount Panorama.
Oh, it always is, and especially with a 70-minute race tonight, these drivers are going to need to take it very carefully. Although, 2 mandatory pit stops, so if you do get damage, which can happen very easily around here, you at least have the opportunity to fix that in the pits.
Wait, are you saying that the damage is optional around here?
Yeah, just potentially.
I very seldom do runs where I don't get damage on the outlap. So, but it is a very fun track to lap, and it's also a track where there's a couple of cars that stand out a little bit in terms of outright pace. Where we have the Audi being probably the fastest car, although very, very tricky to get the pace out of. And then the McLaren is also incredibly fast around here. And then there's a couple of cars, the AMG and the BMW a little bit further down. And then it gets very close between the rest of the cars. Certain cars are very strong across the mountain, not so good on the straights. Other cars are the opposite of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because we have different strength drivers in different cars here, and I'll be interested to see where drivers like Bruno Gallo is able to put that Porsche.
Yeah, there's going to be a few drivers I think we'll need to keep an eye on throughout the night. You said Bruno Gallo, of course. Benjamin Piper, who is in the Audi and is in the Pro class, he can certainly get something out of that one. As Brimble Combe straight into the barrier there at Skyline. That is a hefty crash, and he'll be straight back to the pit lane there. So big accident there for the Pro-Am driver, but he'll head straight out because this is a video game, of course. Tom McDowell now in the Ferrari. Not sure how strong the Ferrari will be. He is currently sitting P5 in the overall standings, but he'll be looking for a strong night tonight, I reckon.
Ferrari is pretty strong around here. It's not the best car, but it's fairly safe, apart from Skyline, where it has a random part of the sort of crest where it's just insta-dead. So we saw in last season's race a couple of Ferraris running fairly high, myself included, and then just binning it at the Skyline. And hopefully they will be able to avoid that this time around. But Tom McDonald puts it on pole provisionally with a 201 free, and Pickford just behind him in the beautiful Bentley with his Ford Falcon tribute livery that he has on it, which is the color may not be my style, but the design of the livery is pretty spectacular as Benjamin Piper bangs it into provisional pole there in the Audi. So I think Mia Rose has done a 59 in practice. I think there's not that many drivers and cars in this split that will be capable of diving into the 59s, but she is certainly one to look out for.
Yeah, I think Mia Rose, you have to look out for it pretty much every event at the moment, and yeah, she's just on some stellar pace at the moment. But Piper up there on pole. Oh, that's a bit of a wall tap there from Tom McDonald, maybe just a little bit more than a tap. That car was looking pretty loose before. But it's nice to see Pickford in the split and in a fantastic car as well. Yes, it may not be as good as it used to be, but I love seeing a Bentley get around.
Yeah, I mean, it's the car that made me fall in love with the game, so I always have a soft spot for it. Unfortunately, it's not been most favorably BOP'd, as we see Lucas Bursday dive into the 2-minute flats, but it's not too bad around here, actually. Pickford has been getting some pretty good sort of mid to low 2-minute flat lap times out of it, so it's certainly competitive. And he is a bit of a fiend on the mountain as well. He spends a lot of time here when he's not driving semis, And yeah, I think we'll see him towards the pointy end in a very unfavorable car. And speaking of unfavorable cars, Lucas Burrs in a GTR around. Oh, that is not the favorable line there by Tom McDonald.
Yeah, so here is Pickford's car. Its color is certainly not my thing, but the car itself, you just love it to bits. Is Mia Rose, 59.8. That is very, very fast. Pickford goes up there in P2, well, only for a minute. As Bruno Gallo now up to P2, 5/10 off of Mia Rose.
Bruno Gallo there binning it at turn 1. I think he was just getting back into pits, getting some fresh tires on. But that is a very, very spicy lap from Mia Rose straight out of the gate. Bruno Gallo with a 2-minute point, what's that, about 0.3 or 0.4, which is a very good lap time in the Porsche. And yeah, Pickford keeping it up towards the pointy end, but look how big the gaps are now from Mia Rose to the drivers behind.
She's been very, very dominant all season. I mean, she currently leads the standings for Split Yellow by a matter of 138 points over Lucas Burrs, but the drivers behind her are further back. But yeah, she's just been stellar all season.
Yeah, she had a bit of a rough round 1, and then since then she's been untouchable. Oh, speaking of touching, somebody there touching the wall rather aggressively. I think that was Josh Holmes in the Lamborghini. And yeah, Nathan Atkins there popping it into P2 out of nowhere there with the, as we said, the McLaren is quite speedy around here, but we see the points there on the screen. Can you take us through there quickly, Alexis?
Yes, of course. So Mia Rose currently flying out front with 966 points, 138 points clear of Lucas Burrs, who is well clear of Bruno Gallo in third. There's a good battle there for that overall third, and a third in the pro standings with Loz, McDonald, Piper, Death, and Cook all within about 100 points of Bruno Gallo. And speaking of Arno Loz and George Cook, they are your front two in the silver class, separated by about 68 points at the moment. George Cook has been closing in very quickly, so it's great to see his form pick up later on this season. And Eric Scarney there a bit further down. The order in Pro-Ams is very tight as well. 10th, 11th, and 12th for all Pro-Am drivers, and your top three in the Pro-Am with Riley Price on 363. Honey Curry on 338 and Damo Icarus on 308. Then you get to the juicy AM class battle there. Joe Williams and Aiden Payne separate by 10 points, with Williams on 225, Payne on 215, and then John Stockton a little bit further down on 177, but still definitely within touching distance.
Yeah, 50 points is not a big change to make, especially with 3 more races to go. But we saw last week with Joe Williams and Aiden Payne having a very big reversal of fortune from race 1 to 2, and it tightened up the battle even more there. And yeah, going to be interesting to see how it plays out towards the end of the season. Jack Steele is another driver we haven't really mentioned today. He's a very speedy boy and should be up towards the pointy end of the field, I would say, but he's not been able to get that lap together, although he's on a very good one here. It's going to be a mid 2-minute flat there. That's good enough for P5. George Cook has done a 2-minute 0.5, which is a massive PB for him, so he'll be very happy with that lap.
Yeah, not quite into 2 minutes 0.5, so I think that would be just a 2-minute 0.6, but very, very close. He'll be very happy with that, though, indeed.
Well, I was just looking at his stream before we jumped over live here, and his PB at that stage was a 201.0. So certainly will be happy with that performance he's put in quality. It is a little bit cooler in here than it was in the practice service, so that will help with the lap times. But I think the big surprise at the moment is Nathan Atkins there in P2.
Yeah, doing very nicely as Adkins there. Like, yeah, the McLaren is pretty quick around here, but Pro-Am driver, and he's right up there, nearly into the 59s, if you don't mind. So having a stellar qualifying session. We'll see if he can hold on to this for the race, which of course 70 minutes, 2 mandatory pit stops. Oh yeah, that's a bit of a water.
He'll be so frustrated with that, as well as a 2-minute 0.007. James Bond can piss off when he keeps you away from a 59. And he'll definitely be looking to improve. Still 4 minutes left, so he'll have enough time for potentially 2 more laps there. Picky here, not able to improve just quite yet, but he'll be looking to gain a couple of more tens. I think he does have him in the tank if he can just get that lap together. But it's one of those tracks where I was grinding a bunch of laps this week, and you nail the first sector, and then the mountain is like, nope, this is not happening. And then you mess up the first sector, and then the mountain is like, please, sir, come on through at great speed. And it's just so hard to put a whole lap together, and it's 2 minutes of just flat-out concentration. Really impressive when you do put a lap together, but very seldom is all 3 sectors your best sectors in a good lap.
It's what makes watching like the top 10 shootouts happen around here, whether that be for the Bathurst 12 hour or the Bathurst 1000, all the more special, because you typically get at least one lap that has just absolutely nailed it, and it is majestic to watch. It is magical.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I said, my opinion of Bathurst wasn't always quite as rosy and positive, but once I started sort of really figuring it out and getting the nuance down of how to go over the mountain, there's very few tracks that are as satisfying to nail a lap. It doesn't happen often. They don't come every day, but when you do put a proper lap together, there's very few things as satisfying as Mount Panorama.
Now look at Mia Rose, who is currently up by about 2 tenths going through the cutting there. She's got pace in hand, and we'll see what the mountain is like. We'll stay on board for now. She's really wringing the neck of this BMW around here.
Yeah, getting so close to the walls, but that's what you need to do to get the ultimate lap times out of it as he comes around McPhillamy here into probably the deadliest part of the track. Very tricky braking zone over the crest, then down up into the S's, down into the dipper, and then one of the trickiest braking zones I would say in any track really, coming down to Forest Elbow.
She's not leaving her low on the table. She is really pushing. Wow, that is so much speed at Forest Elbow there. Now going down the straight now. Climb over the mountain now, going towards the chase.
She does have a little bit of traffic ahead and a yellow flag there that's cleared off, but I don't think the traffic will impede her. Such a tricky braking zone to get right, and can't afford to hit either curb there. She loses a little bit on the exit, but it's still a net gain basically. Just one more corner to navigate. It's a 90-degree corner, but it's so difficult to get it right. She does get it nice and tidy this time around, and does a 59.615 if you don't mind. That is a very solid lap time there from Mia Rose.
Yeah, no, that had a lot going for her. That was such a clean lap. Yeah, there were a few mistakes there, particularly in the case she probably took a little too much of that grass on the inside, but that was still fantastic from Mia Rose.
I was discussing with one of our teammates last night when we were just sitting in the survey. It's one of those tracks where you do a lap and you feel as though you've messed up somewhere, perhaps the dipper or perhaps the S's or the cutting, and you feel as though you really didn't get it right, and then you come into the next lap and you're like, I definitely have some time left in this lap, and you come to the corner that you know you in your mind messed up, and you still lose time in it. And it's just such a mind-boggling thing to go around here and lose time in certain spots where you didn't think you should, and gain time where you think you potentially were fast already. So a very tricky track to get right, but Nathan Atkins is definitely getting it right on this lap. Gets a decent exit there from the chase. He has one more corner to navigate. Time bleeding away a little bit, but he has enough on the delta for a 59. Can he get the final corner right? Tricky to get on the power end of McLaren. He does it beautifully, and that's going to be a 59.897 there. That's a fantastic lap for a Pro-Am driver there, Nathan Atkins.
Yeah, doing fantastic as Nathan Adkins there up in P2, and he's still got one more opportunity. He just crossed the line in time, but Mia Rose's time is going to be very tricky to beat as Gallo maintains his position of P3, not quite into the 59s, but doing nicely there for 2.2. Adkins has had enough. That 59.8 is a very good lap time from a Pro-Am driver, let alone any driver around here really.
Yeah, no, it's not nothing to sneeze at even as a pro driver. And look at Picky, he is up 310. Oh, so close to the exit wall on the Forest Elbow there. free 10s up. He has a couple of corners left to navigate. Free 10s is going to be enough to put him into P4 potentially. Look how close it is. Some big gaps at the front of the field, but then sort of P4 all the way down is very, very close. And can he put it together in this final sector into the braking zone after chase? Gets a decent turn in there, didn't lose anything really, didn't gain anything either. He'll be happy with that. One more corner to navigate. Can he get the braking right, avoid the curb and get on the power nice and cleanly? Gains on the braking zone, loses some of it on the exit there. He's only going to gain 1.8 tenths basically there, and look how close he is to George Cook there, but he does slot the beautiful Bentley into P5 there. He'll be happy with that.
He'll be a little bit filthy with that final corner. He adores this track, and being so close to the second row of the grid is going to be a little bit heart-wrenching for him, but it is a 70-minute race. Now, Lucas Burrs, he's got a really good run, and he's going to sit it up in that fourth position, and he does by 3 thousandths of a second.
Look at that. That's five or six drivers there within 1/10 of each other, which just shows you how competitive Split Yellow is here in the Sprint Series. But we do have Mia Rose taking pole yet again, and a surprise package, Nathan Atkins in P2. Then Bruno Gallo, Lucas Burrs on the second row, George Cook, Michael Pickford in P5 and 6, Jack Steele, Benjamin Piper, Tom McDonald, and Josh Holmes. Douglas Keane as an AM in P11. He'll be happy with that. And then where are the other two AM drivers, the leading AM drivers? Aiden Payne there in P23. And we don't see Joe Williams on the leaderboard, so hopefully he can have a better race than he did qualifying. P29 I'm hearing, so he'll be looking to move forward. But as you just said, 70 minutes with 2 pit stops around Mount Panorama. Many positions will change by the time this race ends.
Yes, no, it wouldn't surprise me if we see about at least 10 cars crash at some stage tonight, because it is a very menacing track to drive at the best of times.
By at some stage, do you mean lap 1?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, Alf and Danny, they're pointing out what a lap in the GTR. I mean, I'm still just both baffled and impressed by what Lucas is able to do in the GTR. I don't know. He's an absolute fiend in that car, so fantastic seeing him up there in P4. He'll probably be disappointed that he wasn't able to out-qualify Gallo either way.
Yeah, but even then, like, Gallo was a few tenths up the road, but still, Burrs doing nicely, and there isn't as much issue with the Nissan not being amazing on the mountain itself, because 9 times out of 10 you're not going to be overtaking on the mountain. Most of your overtaking opportunities are going to be around Mountain Straight, Conrod Straight, so that's where the Nissan will be the strongest, and that will be where Burrs can potentially make up a few positions tonight if he plays his cards right.
I guess the challenge is just staying close enough, especially down the mountain from the depot down to Forest Elbow, and then getting that tricky braking zone right. But the GTR is very good at accelerating, so that will certainly benefit it coming in. And we see Eric Stani has put in another mid-qualifying performance. He'll be not too displeased with P14, I guess, but he is P3 in class, so can't complain too much. Where's Honor Laws? Honor Laws is not racing, I guess, because he's nowhere in the top 23. And that is going to be, or have quite big implications on the Silver Class Championship there, with George Cook running there in P5.
Yeah, would be big gains for George Cook at this stage, as looks like Rickich is forgotten to hit drive. There in P15.
That is a rookie mistake there. Hopefully it was a mistake and not something more nefarious, like a disconnect or something like that, and had to jump back in, couldn't get in time or something. But sometimes we found that a pit lane start here is not the worst thing. It is slightly incident prone on lap 1, especially have a couple of drivers who can be a little bit more aggressive, and we've seen quite a few penalties in Split Yellow throughout the season, so hopefully they can keep it nice and clean on the opening lap. And everybody must be aware it's a 70-minute race. 70 minutes is a very long time. So maybe losing 1 or 2 positions on the opening lap is not the end of the world, and you have enough time to gain them back.
No, you clearly win a 70-minute race on lap 1, turn 1. It's fairly common knowledge at this point, isn't it?
Sorry, apologies, Ethan Senna. The way I was commentating with a legend in the comms box. But yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the temptation to just absolutely send it on lap 1 is always maybe a little bit too big. And I don't know, hopefully cooler heads will prevail today.
Especially at a track like Bathurst, where it is so difficult to actually make moves without almost the assistance of blue flags, which could come into play tonight with such a long race and with how tricky the track is. But you might see a few unexpected drivers get a good result tonight. I mean, we've already seen Adkins up there qualifying P2. If he's able to hold on to that, that would be huge for him.
Yeah, I mean, even Douglas Keane qualifying in P11 is a bit of a surprise, I would say, definitely, given the AM tag. And I don't think there's any drivers particularly out of position in the wrong way from what I can see. So I think we have the usual suspects where we expect them. I maybe expected Piper to be a little bit higher up, but the Audi is, as we said, very tricky to get lap time out of, and did as well as he could. I noticed Riley Price isn't racing today either, so he's another driver who would have been in a very competitive position to get a good result here.
I saw Douglas Keane came in the chat just before and said that he is absolutely packing it right now. And qualifying P11, I do not blame him. It's a could be a huge result on for him tonight.
Yeah, you're right in the thick of things when you're down there. So that's a field of about 30 cars. So many cars ahead, many cars behind, everybody vying for position. It certainly makes for some potential death and destruction if you're not too careful, especially if you get a bit too nervous. So hopefully you can keep his cool.
Fingers crossed.
As we hit.
Yeah, we're coming around the final corner now. At Murray's, it's Rose, Adkins, Gallo, Burrs, Cook, Pickford, Steele, Piper, McDonald, and Holmes. We are awaiting the green flag. It will come a little bit later on this main straight, and we are just about ready to go here at Bathurst, and we are underway. Rose has gotten a very good start. Burrs as well as it looks like Gallo's gotten up the inside of Adkins, and Burrs is looking to have a go-to. That straight line speed will help. Few cars go up. That looks like Stockton who's gone up there. 4 wide there, and there's a bit of a calamity there. There's a few drivers off in the background. But Burrs has managed to get the jump on Adkins. Adkins has dropped down to P4 and is now looking to have a go at Gallo into a very tricky corner at Griffin's Bend. He's going around the outside as the safety car is called. Now, who was ahead when they got to Griffin's Bend?
That is an interesting question. It looked as though Burrs was ahead when we got the notification, but we're not quite sure if there was maybe a little bit of a delay. So I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that, but not too surprised with that safety car. We saw a lot of sadness in the background there, going 4 wide in turn 1. I don't know what the expectation was, but it couldn't have been this is going to go well.
No, well, I mean, I saw Stockton go off the track and he came back on it. Just turned into a bit of a 4 wide affair there, so that certainly doesn't help.
No, absolutely not. And of course, we do have a pit window today, so there's a 60-minute pit window, so 5 minutes into the race and 5 minutes before the end of the race. Drivers will be allowed to complete their mandatory pit stops. They can stop now if they want to repair the damage. I think there's quite a few cars there with significant damage, and I suspect we might go racing at the end of this lap, but maybe the race director is feeling kind and letting the drivers pit and catch up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And for those who are watching for the first time or not quite familiar with ACC, you will see on the leaderboard on the left-hand side there's a little orange box next to the driver's numbers with a 2 in it. That is how many pit stops the drivers still have to complete before the end of the race. They do have to change tires on every pit stop. So you will see that number go down and then turn into a green box once all the mandatory pit stops are completed.
indeed. Of course, Stockton, who had to teleport to the pits after sustaining that damage, will be stuck in the pit lane for a while, but because we're not within that pit window, his orange box will not tick down to 1, but it looks like we are about to get ready to go back underway again.
Yeah, single file start this time, so should be a little bit cleaner as we get confirmation their safety car is coming in this lap. Lucas Burrs will be at the bit at the moment, just wanting to get past Bruno Gallo. He very nearly got the move done, but it's so tricky going around the outside there of Griffin's Bend. And Mia Rose, I'm suspecting she's going to go right out of the final corner as we come down towards Murray's. Should go for a good run as soon as she gets the exit of the corner. No, she's still holding them. Bruno Gallo tries to go, and then she'll go once he has to hesitate. And that is going to allow Lucas Burrs to be very close to the back of Bruno Gallo. He should be able to get a good run up the mountain straight here. Bruno Gallo very close to Mia Rose as well. Not the best exit there for Lucas Burrs. I suspect that the Porsche may not have the legs on the BMW, although he's sticking with her very nicely. Will he be able to move out and attempt the move? Let's see if he hits a brick wall. Yeah, Rose interestingly deciding not to defend. I guess she has confidence in the BMW straight line speed, and she manages to stay ahead there and settle down into first place. Gallo still piling the pressure on Atkins right behind Burrs there in the background. And Pickford looks like he had a bit of a slow start. No, there he is. He was a bit further behind there at turn 2, but top 5 here all very close to each other, and there's no yellow flags currently, which is good news, but there is still quite a lot of the track to go before they complete their first clean racing lap.
By the time that they get around to the chase, the pit window should open. It will open in 45 seconds time. Guys will get around just around the time that the pit window opens.
See, John Stockton there has left pits. He of course had some control lock which kept them there, but maybe a couple of the drivers at the back of the field who decided to stay out another lap can do their pit stops now and get one of them out of the way, repair some damage while doing a mandatory stop, so they don't have to do a free stop in a 2-stop race. But we do have, it looks like 1 or 2 cars still in pit lane. They'll be hoping they can get out before that whole pack arrives there, otherwise you're just going to be stuck in traffic for 65 minutes.
They are moving now, so they should get out ahead reasonably okay. But the pit window has opened now, so drivers can come to the pits now if they want to, for their mandatory pit stop.
Now is when things are going to start settling down a little bit. Drivers will start to get comfortable and familiarize themselves with the track conditions. The temperatures are a little bit higher than they were in qualifying, so some changes will need to be made as we get a replay here. Chris Withers, little touch there under Porsche, and then just a tiny tap again. And Stockton on the outside there was always going to run out of space, and just the tiniest of taps on the rear end that all hell broke loose. Yeah,
it was just a bit of a awkward kerfuffle there going into turn 1, and yeah, Stockton on the outside was never going to have the room after rejoining.
It's also such an awkward position for him to be in, because you have to get back on track, but you don't want to drive all the way up the grass or the mountain straight, so decided to attempt to rejoin there. Unfortunately just ran out of space, as we said there. But Picky here putting that Bentley still in contention there behind Atkins. Atkins dropping off from the lead free a little bit there on that lap, but he seems to have closed back up again across the mountain. So yeah, it's staying nice and close, most of the gaps. The biggest gap at the moment is there in P11, Chad Petty Bridge, about 3 seconds behind McDonald's. Not a good start there, as we see a yellow flag there at the dip. A couple of yellow flags actually. Many yellow flags, I would say. I think a couple of cars slowing right down to avoid contact there. Car 77 is still parked up. Hopefully they can get going again as the rest of the field
oh dear, that is
through.
Chad. That is Chad Bridge, who you were just mentioned.
Okay, he's a little bit more than 3 seconds behind now.
Just a little.
But not an unusual place to see a car parked in facing the wrong direction.
Hang on, there's a nice battle going on here for P6 between Cook, Steele, and Piper as Mia Rose sets a 2 flat 4 race pace. That's yeah, certainly quick.
Yeah, definitely nothing to sneeze at. Of course, it is a two-stopper, so we're running a little bit lighter fuel than we'll usually be doing, but that's not taking anything away from the immense pace that she's running at. See Jack Steele there goes immediately defensive as they come onto the mountain straight, giving Piper the outside. Being on the outside here into Griffins is most of the time just results in death. Can he outbrake him? He's been given the outside. Steele compromises his line quite a lot.
Wow, what a move!
Curb and a beautiful move by Piper.
And now McDonald's going to go side by side there, Holmes through the cutting. Oh, that is a hell of a move there from McDonald to go around the outside of the first part of the cutting. Wow.
That was took some big kahunas there, and great respect shown by Holmes as well, giving him the space on the outside, not squeezing him into the wall. Two beautiful overtakes there in two corners by two very good drivers there.
That was some outstanding racing. Like, you never see moves around the outside of Griffin's Men, let alone around the outside of the cutting. But let's take a look at what happened to Chad Pethy Bridge. He's just gonna, yeah, just onto that curb and around he goes. And did the drivers avoid him? For the most part, I'd say. I reckon they all did a pretty good job actually of avoiding him.
Yeah, it looks as though he very lightly nicked Scani there, but I don't think that'll do too much damage to Scani's car. But Chad will have a significant amount of damage there. It's a weird curb that, because sometimes you touch it and the car is fine, and then the next step you touch it and it just pulls the car around, as we saw there, and results in a rather violent accident for the poor driver.
It does, but fair play to the drivers there for behaving with the yellow flags as well. As Mia Rose goes and sets another fast lap, a 2 flat 3.72 this time. It's broken away by about 2 seconds to Gallo. Burrs is about 7 tenths behind, but Adkins is the one who's under pressure from Pickford, who is having a very good race at the moment.
Yeah, he'll certainly be happy with where he's running. His first race back in the Sprint Series in quite some time, due to work commitments and stuff like that, but he's certainly doing the Bentley proud at the moment, keeping the pressure on Atkins. Atkins keeping his cool so far. First 10 minutes are pretty much done and dusted. And he's staying up there in P4, not allowing Pickford too many opportunities, and Cookie behind them, dropping down ever so slightly from them now with about a 3-second gap.
Yeah, Cook's under a lot of pressure now. He's got Piper, Steele, McDonald and Holmes all over his rear bumper. Scani is about 6.2 back, but that is to be expected after getting held up a little bit with Chad Pethy Bridges' little accident there at the Skyline, but I reckon we'll see a few of those tonight, as Joe Williams looks like he's coming to the pits early for his first of 2 mandatory pit stops.
Yeah, very tricky pit entry as well here. Very easy to go a little bit wide and potentially put it in the wall if you try and come into a little bit aggressive. And of course, with 2 of those in one race, there's much potential for messing up your own race. But yeah, Lucas burst there, so Mia Rose running away at the front as per usual. Actually, she lost a little bit of time to Gallo in that last sector there. Oh, I think she had a blue flag ahead of her.
Yep, it's the blue flag effect, I believe.
Yeah, it would have been right at the end of the mountain there, and there's 1 or 2 second pace difference between drivers. You end up losing quite a lot. Gallo really benefiting from the timing on that blue flag there.
Oh dear, looks like we've lost Douglas Keane from this race, who looks like it was going to be such a good result for him tonight. Has had an internet outage and has dropped out.
That is not ideal, especially given his very impressive qualifying performance. You see Scani there dive into pit lane for the first of his mandatory stops. Hopefully not too much damage. I think he should be able to untick that damage and not repair it at this stage. Get our first view here of the Red Rebel Racing BMW in the hands of Grant Liu, with Nick Tatlian a couple of positions up the road as well. I think they qualified pretty much side by side, but Tatlian having a little bit more of an effective start here, getting through the traffic as well.
Yeah, Tatlian's moved up a few positions now, up into P13. It is right on the back of Slade here. Beautiful red Rebel Racing livery.
Nice one. Ethan Kale, the quali conditions were optimum track with 20 degrees ambient and 26 for the track temperature. So it was pretty optimal qualifying conditions, and it certainly looks as though there won't be any rain in this race, as we see our first penalty of the day, Chris Withers, with a 10-second penalty for being out of position on lap 1. I suspect we'll see a few more spankings from the steward in the next couple of laps as they process that lap 1 incident.
Yeah, there'll be a few stewards' invoices tonight, I'd assume, just with the nature of this track. Is Aiden Payne? That is going to be a lot of damage there. Oh dear.
Another wall. Oof. He manages to avoid it that time, but not the best run out of there now. It's under all sorts of pressure from Bishop with Brimblecombe right behind him. And side by side, I think the Ferrari may have the straight line advantage, perhaps not with all that damage. Nathan Atkins with the fastest lap there, 2-minute flat point 2. That is a pretty moving side by side through the chase. I've been there and I ended up in the wall. They make it work, and he keeps the position. Brimblecombe goes very deep at the chase there, and Bishop.
I think Brimblecombe actually got a bit of a nudge there from Bishop.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, Brimblecombe has decided to bring it into the box rather than fight this out. As look now at McDonald, who's fallen off the back of Cook, Pipe, and Steele a little bit. But yeah, Atkins with the fastest lap. That is a bit of a surprise, I'd say.
Yeah, well, given his qualifying performance, it's not too surprising. Given where he's been for the rest of the season, I would say it's quite surprising. But the car is really good around here, and it doesn't really lose much once you put a little bit of race fuel in it. Piping is so close to the back of George Cook. And George Cook, the lead silver driver here, Piper wanting to get through. But Cookie has proven to be a very difficult customer to overtake this season. He's been up and towards the sort of top 5, top 6 positions for the most part of the season. After, I think, the first 2 rounds, he had a bit of a rough start, but once he settled down, he has been super consistent. And I think the Audi is probably one of the fastest cars on the straight line. When you have a bit of an aggressive setup, interesting to see what type of speed Piper can do down here to 89 to 90 there in the toe. And still not enough to catch George Cook.
Yeah, I think earlier in the qualifying I saw Mia Rose do a 285 down towards the chase on her quali runs, but Burrs has managed to get ahead of Gallo, is now under a lot of pressure from Gallo and Atkins.
Wondering if that battling maybe allowed Atkins to get back within striking distance, because he was a little bit further behind a couple of laps ago. But it'll be interesting to see what Gallo can do, either in attack or defense. As we see car 94 there, he was one of the drivers involved in the lap 1 incident. He is still going very slowly at the exit of the dipper. He's now seems to be moving as he has one car approaching and he is going. So that is clear. And Burrs here right behind Eric Scania. That's one of the issues when you perform that early pit stop, is you run the risk of getting involved in some of the lead battles, and that is going to be a very frustrating position for Eric Scania to be in.
It certainly is for both Scani and for Burrs, because Scani probably have a little bit of pace at the moment with the fresher tyres, but Burrs is quite quick out front and is really hustling that Nissan around. Like, that Nissan looks so loose going over the mountain. It's actually breaking away a little bit there from Bruno Gallo. It's such a loose car. Now at Bruno Gallo going down the straight. Atkins close behind. Coming through the chase. Looking on from the rear that push looked a little loose turning into the chase, but he's able to hold off Atkins from now. One eye forward, one eye backwards as Burrs is now able to lap Eric Scarney, but looks like Gallo and Adkins will just have to wait a little bit longer. We'll let him go on this straight here. Chris Withers now gets a drive-through for causing a collision on lap 1, so Withers has been deemed at fault for some form of incident. I assume would be the turn 1 incident.
That makes sense in terms of the incidents he was involved in there. Brooker there getting a 10-second penalty as well for being out of position. But yeah, Cook getting a bit more comfortable now. Piper dropping back ever so slightly there, and yeah, I think Chris Withers would be not too happy with getting such a big penalty, but I think it is pretty justified in this occasion.
Yeah, it was just maybe a little bit of placing your car into the wrong place at the wrong time for with Chris Withers, and he'll have to serve that drive-through now. He's already made 1 mandatory pit stop in this race, so he'll likely go a lap down after the drive-through.
It's an unfortunate start to the race for him there, but Atkins. Whoa!
Oh, Burrs has hit the wall.
Hit the wall. He loses 2 positions there, and it's going to be under threat from Picky. I don't think Picky is close enough to benefit on this occasion, but that's certainly going to draw him into this battle. And Atkins got a great run as well on Gallo. Will he be able to try and do something into the chase? He moves onto the inside. He should be through by the time. Oh, he hits the curb and he loses it. Oh, it's not too bad of an incident there for him. Actually, he will have a little bit of front damage, but that could have been a lot worse, and super, super lucky for Gallo not to get collected there.
Oh, that I could tell. Once he was going side by side there, calamity was about to strike. That could have been so much worse. Adkins can think himself very, very lucky to have only lost a few positions out of that, and to have only gotten a little bit of damage as a result.
Yeah, I think all things considered, that was best case scenario given the incident there. Gallo will need a new race here because his butt would have taken a bite out of it, but yeah, that was a close one, and it just shows you how dangerous it is to go through the chase side by side. Very tricky to make it work, but Gallo will be happy with that. He's gained back his P2, and the driver who looked the most threatening out of the lot there has had a big incident that will definitely be affected for pace.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Adkins done a fantastic job, but yeah, just too much on that curb, and it was always going to be a little bit of an accident there. He was very fortunate to have gotten away with an accident like that, given how poor some of those moments can end. And Gallo too was extremely lucky.
Yeah, and Pickford was also very lucky because he's gained another position. He is up into P4. The Bentley doing its thing, running in P4. You don't often see a Bentley in P4 these days in ACC, but he'll be very, very happy with that. He's still in contention with Burrs and Gallo there, so as we know, pit stops in ACC can be very tricky. You can potentially gain or lose quite a lot of time, so all he needs to do is get a good pit stop, and Burrs has quite a bit of damage, and the Bentley is a bit of a monster in the straight, so he should be able to pile the pressure onto Burrs in that GTR.
Benjamin Piper's only just come into the pits, but he was already down in P19. He's clearly had some form of incident somewhere, has Benjamin Piper.
That is not good news. Didn't want to hear that for Benjamin there, but yep, the mountain give up and the mountain taken away. Unfortunately, it takes away a lot more than it gives.
Certainly does. Well, there's been a little bit of action going on then with a few of these drivers. Not in the way that we'd like to see it, as the way that we expect around here is Lucas Burrs has come into the pits now as well. So he is the first of the best of the rest to have come into the pits.
So the question will be, will he repair that damage? Is it bad enough to justify repairing it and taking that knock of, say, 15 seconds that it'll take to repair that damage? I'm not sure how badly he hit the wall. 15 seconds, probably not that much.
It would probably be about 5 or 6 seconds that he'd be looking at repairing.
Yeah, But that's enough to drop him sort of behind Cook and potentially around Steele. Should things play out normally. Cook is one of the drivers who's been very happy with what's been going on, because Piper has gone from his rear bumper and he's closed up to Atkins a little bit into that sort of striking distance for pit stops. So he is keeping it nice and clean, and just being consistent gains you positions around here.
He's just doing what he has been doing for the past few rounds now, just keeping it clean and consistent, and it's been paying off dividends for him. He's closed in very near on Arno Loz in the standings, and he is looking like he could be taking the silver class lead at the end of this round.
That's the risk you run when you have to miss around, whether it's due to personal reasons or whatever the case may be. But if you're trying to compete in a championship, showing up consistently and getting solid results will always benefit you quite a lot there. And John Stockton there getting a 15-second penalty for dangerous driving. I'm assuming that is for sort of rejoin from off track there, but it seems fair enough as well. And nobody else in the top 5, top 6 there deciding to perform their pit stops just quite yet. Matthew Herrera there, he's oh, Pickford dives into pit lane, never mind. I was just thinking, Matthew Herrera started, I think, P14 or 13. He's up into P7. I'm sure there's a couple of drivers ahead of him who have pitted, but not that many. So he'll be happy with his performance in the Porsche so far.
Looks like Burrs has come into actually a really nice position there, into a nice low of clean air. 15 seconds worth of clean air behind Bishop there in P12. So he's come in a great position as Lucas Burrs.
Yeah, the question is, if he did choose to repair the damage, or if he didn't, what's his pace going to be like running with that damage? Whether he'll be affected and whether he will get under or overcut by some of the other drivers he was racing around.
Wow, Cook got so close to the wall there. As we see what happened to Benjamin Piper. What's he going to do? Is it going to be just a bit of Audi things?
Oh, okay. That's not Audi things. So that is a disconnect there for Benjamin. That is very unfortunate. At least you won't have any damage from that, I don't think. So that's some silver lining. It looks as though Atkins here may... Atkins, maybe with the damage, has lost a little bit of pace here. Cook has closed that gap from 2 seconds down to 1.19 now. So Cookie is really flying, and Atkins dropping off the pace a little bit now. Might be worth just diving into pit lane, resetting your mind a little bit and getting some fresh tires on, trying to get back on pace.
Something of note, Pickford has come out 11 seconds behind Lucas Burrs.
Huh. Okay.
Either something terribly wrong has happened for Michael Pickford, or Lucas Burrs has decided to turn into the reincarnation of Ayrton Senna and Juan Manuel Fangio combined.
Little sprinkling of Max Verstappen on top there, just absolutely. How? I'm sure Pickford must have either repaired damage, although we didn't see him have any contact, or just having an absolute awful pit stop, which is pretty easy to do in ACC.
Yes, definitely. But Gallo has decided to box and stop.
Gallo, I mean, Miro's running away with it yet again, and interesting to see where Gallo comes out in relation to Lucas Burrs now. Unless Lucas Burrs has found some kind of magic hack.
Well, Gallo's just coming out of the pits now.
Okay, so no magic hack.
It is about the same gap as it was before, if not a little bit larger. So I reckon Burrs has repaired the damage, but overall he hasn't lost a huge amount from it.
Yeah, it's a shame for Picky. He was running so well, and he's going to lose maybe 1 or 2 positions because of that, especially to Cook and Steele, who weren't too far behind them. But hopefully he can sort out his second pit stop and have a better stop that time around.
We'll see where Adkins come out. I reckon Adkins would have repaired the damage. Yeah, it's come out about 7.4 behind Burr, so it's definitely fixed damage. But as it's come out ahead of Pickford's, yeah, Pickford's clearly had something gone wrong.
Lost 4 seconds to Atkins as well, so yeah, no, Picky not been driving that much recently, although he did do the Enduro in Nürburgring, so his pit stop should be on point. But yeah, just as we said, super easy to mess it up in this game, as we see Mia Rose dive into pit lane as well. I mean, she was 9 seconds ahead of Gallo, so no real pressure. She can reverse into a pit box and she'll still come out ahead. George Cook and Jack Steele there also diving into pit lane, so that's pretty much everybody apart from Paul Kranich and Hanekuri, who haven't completed their pit stops.
Yeah, just a handful now, but we'll see. Interesting to see where Cook comes out in comparison to Adkins, because I reckon Adkins will have repaired the damage given how much he was struggling, and Cook's pace was very, very good and consistent. So I reckon it could be Cook ahead of Adkins by the time he exits the pit box.
We see Cook seems as though he's still stationary. Might be moving. No, he's still stationary as Atkins comes around the final corner. Cook, he would really want to get going, but he is still stationary. So Atkins is going to be quite comfortably ahead of him. It looks as though Steele is coming out ahead of Cook as well. Yep, he is. So I wonder
Uh,
what happened to Cookie there. Did he remember to turn the car back on?
well, he's moving now, and he's going to come out behind Herod.
Must have completely messed up his stop there. It looks as though Pickford was able to just about nick back ahead of Jack Steele there after the pit stops, but that was a atrocious pit stop for George Cook as well.
I am baffled. I am really, really baffled at the moment as to what is happening.
Looking at his stream ever so quickly, and from based on his chat, it looked
apparently he had 8
spin.
seconds of damage to repair.
Apparently he had a bit of a spin, so I'm wondering what happened there. But anyway, he's lost a couple of positions, and oh no!
Oh, Herod. That was close. Oh dear, you don't want to be offline there, Cookie.
Okay. I have seen what has happened to Cook. He got on the throttle on the grass coming into pit lane and hit the wall just before the pit line and gave himself 8 seconds of damage. So he won't be too happy about that. But yeah, he is going again and putting pressure on Herod here.
Yeah, I don't think I have any words to describe that. That is.
I mean, I can think of some, but they're quite mean. I don't want to be mean to Cookie, as he's very close to Herod here. Herod late on the brakes into the chase. A gap from was Chad Bridge there, I think, taking the esports line across the chase. So a gap at the front. Miros comfortably cruising again, 10 seconds ahead of Bruno Gallo. Lucas Burrs 1.5 seconds behind him. He's running in a bit of no man's land again. Nathan Atkins lost quite a bit of time. Has Pickford not too far behind him, and Jack Steele not too far behind Pickford. And then these two of Herod and Cookie about 6 seconds behind them. Tom McDonald running in P9 and Josh Holmes in P10 at the moment. Paul Granage running in P11. Unfortunately, that is an artificial position. He still has a pit stop in hand over everybody else. So our lead AM driver currently will be Aiden Payne in P18 with Joe Williams 3 positions behind him. So that is good for the AM class battle in the championship.
Yeah, it tightens it up even more because currently it is Aiden Payne 10 points behind. Of course, Aiden Payne did have a few issues earlier on with a bit of damage, but he seems to have gotten a handle of it for now. But despite the fact that Williams is only a few positions behind, that's only a matter of a second.
Yeah, Williams just got past Perkins there as well, as we see, so he's still closing the gap. And yeah, those guys they seem to be so close, not only in terms of points, but just their pace that they've been managing throughout the whole season.
Absolutely, they have been nip and tuck all this time.
So this is one of the closest battles we have on track now. Of course, that Payne, Brooker, Williams battle at the back there. This is a replay of what happened. You can walk us through this one, Alexis. What were you?
Oh dear, he's gone a little deep, but he's done alright. Oh dear. That gave him 8 seconds of damage.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It was a pretty solid head-on hit. It wasn't going very fast, but apparently walls closer to the pits are more aggressive. It's I was just saying a little bit earlier how tricky the pit lane entry is. Yeah, I'm not sure if he heard me and wanted to give a visual representation of what I was describing. So thank you for that, I guess. But you didn't have to ruin your own race just to display the trickiness. Towards the front there, Burrs is closing the gap on Gallo there, it looks like, and growing the gap to Atkins. The rest of the top 7 there, or top 6 at least, are fairly close to each other. And Cookie still trying to find. Oh, Atkins taps the wall.
Just a little love tap, it's all good, it's all good. Yeah, no, Burrs has got a bit of pace back in there, so I reckon he did actually repair that damage and has really put the throttle down as that Nissan gets so loose on the mountain. If it wants to be in a Suzuka.
It's such a sight to see how the cars behave, especially there from Skyline down into the dipper. It's the undulations and crests and nooks and crannies and turns and bumps, and the cars just move this way and that, and somehow you manage to keep it facing the right direction and get the car on the exit of the dipper. And then just as soon as you think you can relax, you get down to Forest Elbow and you need to try and slow the car down while it's halfway in the air. Certainly an interesting end to the mountain section.
Relax around here. No.
Well, you have a 1.9 kilometer straight, isn't it? It's something like that. So you can relax there a little bit, I guess.
Hey, even then, you're having an anxiety attack for the next time you go around the mountain anyways.
I'm having an anxiety attack about just figuring out the braking for the chase, because you're going at such speed and getting the timing right.
Especially if there's no braking markers there. If the braking markers have been destroyed, then you have fun finding your braking point.
Yeah, it's the second bush on the right hand side, about 2 car lengths after that goes out of your peripheral vision. So that's a very clear description.
Got this halfway mark, keep pushing.
Incredibly clear to pick out, yeah, such breakneck speeds.
I mean, 280 isn't that fast. You should have time to have a nice.
Ooh, was
gaze
that a
around.
little wall tap there from Burrs? That looked a little unnatural from the Nissan, but again, the Nissan itself is pretty unnatural.
He's certainly pushing the limits, getting as close to the wall as you physically can. That's a wall I've hit many times. That's a wall I've hit quite a few times. That one many times. And then these two here are so deceptive sometimes. It's so easy to get a little bit of a slide on and then get the rear into the wall, and then it just kicks it around. Oh, he's so close to the exit wall of Forest Elbow there, but he's really pushing. And gap to Gallo coming down ever so slightly, not noticeably so, but it's enough on the. Never mind, the gap has just gotten bigger.
It shrinks on the straights, but once you get to the mountain, that Porsche just is able to stretch its legs a little bit. But yeah, no, Burrs is treating that car like Chaz Mostert would, ignoring the mirrors at all costs, as Mia Rose gets a 2.3 for the fastest lap.
It's a pretty handy lap time. That would have been enough for, I think, P3 in quality.
Yes,
maybe
P3.
Yeah. So can't complain about that too much. It's only about 0.005 faster than Atkins' fastest lap, I think. So yeah, his damage. I'm not sure if he has that much damage if he didn't repair it, but I think the knock to the confidence is probably more damaging to your pace than anything else. Just see Aiden Payne in chat saying this is the end of the AM Championship. George got 1 minute and 30 seconds of damage. Speaking of damage, Josh Holmes there with some emotional damage, getting a drive-through penalty for causing a collision.
Damn, you took what I was going to say.
Apologies. But that is some seriously bad news there for Aiden Payne. He's been so consistent. As we said earlier, the mountain certainly does do some damage, but where is Joe Williams? Has Joe Williams performed a pit stop, or does he also have some damage?
Well, Joe Williams has damage, and the AM Class Championship charge may not be all over yet. There's still, what, 2 rounds after this? And if Joe Williams has issues, then it mightn't be all over for Aiden Payne just yet. Of course, that gap's only 10 points at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we do have Monza and Spa to come. Both tracks are renowned for being very safe, incident-free. No, wait, no, sorry, that's incorrect. Lots of incidents potential on both tracks, really, especially with Monza Turn 1 and, of course, Eau Rouge Radion at Spa. So many things can happen in the coming rounds. So I wouldn't say it's all over just quite yet, Aiden.
Not over until it is over, in fact. That'll be it once all drivers cross the line at Spa-Francorchamps.
See Josh Holmes there exiting pits after serving his drive-through. And he won't be too happy with what has happened there. We didn't see...
Joe Williams is disconnected.
Oh no.
It is not over.
Can somebody look outside Joe's house if Aiden is there cutting the internet line just to keep this championship alive? Because that is some weird coincidence just for both drivers in the championship battle to have pretty big incidents so close to each other. Nick Spurs would really hope that Josh Holmes moved out of the way before they reach the mountain. It's going to cost them a bunch of time going across.
Joe's been having issues all day with it seems. So that is extremely unfortunate for both of our AM class leaders.
Super unfortunate, and Josh Holmes does get out of the way, but he's already cost Burrs a fair chunk of time there. Burrs within his rights there to call out the number. Holmes potentially facing another penalty there if Burrs decided to do that. You see Joe Williams here leaving pit lane again. He's still in it, still in P28, so he'll get, I think it's 3 points for finishing in P28 if he does. Benjamin Piper there, so unfortunate to see him running in P29 as well. Although currently Holmes is the leading driver to have completed all his pit stop.
That is making me very, very happy. That time from Mia Rose, a 2 flat point 2 flat. That is wonderful.
What's better, a 2 flat point 2 flat or a 2, no again, a 2 flat flat? Like a...
You're asking the crucial questions.
I think it's very important to know. Last week at Valencia I did a 130 flat, like 1300000 in practice. And that was pretty satisfying, so I'm just wondering if the repeat number is more satisfying or just the clean flat.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see just like a complete flat being pretty satisfying given it is a 2 flat. Ooh, Aiden Payne, you don't want to be getting too close to the grass there.
Payne saying things are over, but he's still running P24 here. He's completed both of his pit stops, and there's a couple of drivers ahead. I think Faber and Sanders there who still have to complete pit stops, which he will gain positions from. Joe Williams still has to complete 1 pit stop, of course, with his disconnect. So, yeah, Aiden Payne will gain a couple of points on Joe Williams by the end of this race if he can keep it out of the walls for the rest of the race.
Yeah, he certainly will. Have to see how many points exactly.
Does have a P2 in Bruno Gallo right behind him. Lucas Burrs still dropped back a little bit. I think he lost quite a lot of time behind Holmes a couple of laps ago and not started digging back into that gap yet. Then we have Atkins there, I think running in P4 at the moment with Bigfoot 1.8 behind him. Bigfoot not really able to impress too much on that gap, and then Jack Steele has lost touch with Bigfoot by about 6 seconds. I'm not sure if he maybe had a little bit of a graze of some wall around the mountain, but he's really dropped off the back of Bigfoot, and Bigfoot staying within touching distance of Atkins, not really threatening, but Atkins will know that he's there.
Okay, so if things stay the way they are, then Aiden Payne would take the AM class lead by 2 points, scoring 18 points out of this one versus Daryl Williams' 6 points.
That'll certainly spice things up going into the final 2 rounds, and as we said, 2 tracks that are seem pretty simple but are very incident prone, so they'll be needing some clean finishes there without any disconnects, or fortunately there's less walls there, which is always a benefit. But yeah, it'll really spice things up. That is car 152. I think that's Chris Withers who's had an incident at the elbow with the leader just coming up, and he's managed to get out of the way, fortunately, so no effect on Mia there. That is one of the worst places to see a car parked diagonally across the road. As you come across the little crest trying to get the car to slow down, and there's a car parked facing you, generally ends in tears for the leading car.
Well, hopefully he didn't scrape his elbow like Jack Forrest did in the October 1947 Bathurst track meeting there.
Australians are weird. Just lose a part of your elbow and you get a corner named after you. Okay.
I mean, it was already called the elbow or Devil's Elbow, but yeah, just because someone called Jack Forrest scraped his elbow there, another driver was like, oh no, rider was like, oh yeah, it's Forrest's elbow now. Just a bit of banter that everyone liked, except for Mr. Elbow himself. Or
Yeah.
Mr. Forrest himself, I should say. We're all getting it confused now.
Oh well, he got immortalized on the track map, so maybe he didn't mind it too much. I still stand by my point that Australians are weird, even if you didn't mention that little bit, I think it's still a fair and valid comment.
It is still a valid point to make. We are very wacky individuals.
That's a very politically correct way to state it there. But Bigfoot here in his beautiful Bentley, not speaking about the color choice necessarily, although if you see the livery that it's based on, an old, I think it's old Ford Falcon or something, GT, it is a very nice recreation done there by Tarquin to make it look as much, oh, get out of the way, Mini Sanders. That would have cost Bigfoot a big amount of time, but yeah, the Bentley is such a classy vehicle to see go around the track, and Mini Sanders, just as he impedes Bigfoot going up the hill there, he gets a penalty for 2 laps ago where he also impeded a blue flag, and there's an accident. Eric Scarney and one other car just coming out of, I think that is near Sulman Park. Oh, that is Mini Sanders as well. So I'm thinking he was going a little bit too slow at the wrong place there.
Oh no. Oh dear.
Hopefully we can get a replay of that, but that is super unfortunate for Eric Scarney. It's bad enough to have an incident, but it's even more frustrating when it's a car that's not involved in your battle, or a car that's lapped down that happens to cause the incident, although we don't have evidence of that being the case just quite yet. But he is running again. The car doesn't look too bent out of shape, although it is hard to tell with that birds on the front of the car whether there's scratches or not, but hopefully it was just a spin and not too much of a wall hit.
Yes, that is what we are hoping. We don't want it to be anything too bad for either driver's sake.
As things start drawing towards the sort of final phase of the race here, we have about about 15 drivers or so who haven't completed all their pit stops at this stage. Paul Kranich, running in P12, still has 2 pit stops to complete.
He's doing it again. He's doing it again.
I was just about to say, so I think, didn't he do this last time again? This feels familiar.
Yes, the last time he left it until the very last moment to do his 2 pit stops. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh.
So it's no damage on Scani's car, I would say. It hit the wall particularly hard, but Sanders just going so slowly.
And they both went over that curb. They both hit that curb and just... Huh.
Maybe just a bit of target fixation there from Scania as well. You're trying to get past the car in a place where it's not easy to do.
Well, or is there any rules about having to let drivers go at the top? Because I know in the past there's been some lenience on it.
No, generally you have to do when it's safe, and it's generally deemed not to be safe across the mountain. But when a car is going 30 or 40 kilometers an hour slower than you're used to going through a corner, it's so easy to turn in more than you were expecting, and I think that may be part of the reason why he just completely humped the curb there. Just got a little bit fixated on Sanders going slower than he was expecting, and yeah, fortunate there for both drivers really, but I don't think Scani lost too many positions, maybe 2 or 3 there, and no damage, so not the end of the world for him.
Aiden Payne will actually have a much bigger advantage in the standings now in P21 with Williams still down there in P28. He'll have pretty much the advantage that Williams has now on Williams himself.
It's a big turnaround in the championship, but I mean, 10 points it's not a huge amount of points globally speaking, but you know, it's only 2 races to go, so you need to finish a couple of positions ahead of your competitor to at least close that gap. It looks as though Burs has completed his final pit stop. Gallo still going, Miro still going, Nathan Atkins still going, Jack Steele, Herod, Cook, and Curry is currently in pit lane. So where is Pickford after his previous voice? Whoa, you don't want to be over there. That was Aiden Payne, I think, who was in the grass there, or in the sand.
Yeah, I believe it was not ideal line to be taken.
So he did seem to keep it out of the wall, so not too bad. I don't think he lost any positions on track, so all things considered, that could have been a lot worse than it was. But he continues going, and Nathan Atkins will also need a fresh pair of underwear once he goes into pit lane.
Yes, there'll be a quick brown flag. We'll see who chooses to come in next as
Gallo.
Gallo's in. That'll be interesting.
Kranich
is in!
He's in, he remembered, thank God, and Atkins also dives into pit lane.
We'll see where Gallo comes out in comparison to Burs. The gap was about 2 seconds when Burs came into the pits.
It should be interesting whether is he in clean air at the moment? He's stuck behind a car currently. As we see a replay here of Aiden Payne. Does he take the inside curb? Yep,
Yeah.
Curb, pushes him wide, does very well.
And then, yeah, smart with it, decides to use the runoff.
I think that would have been a very nervous moment for Atkins there, coming up to the braking zone at Skyline, seeing a Ferrari crossing the road ahead of you.
But Gallo looks to be moving now, and is now coming out of the pits.
Well, clear burst in. There's
yeah.
another yellow flag.
Yeah, there is Burs there. That is the number 13.
That is Tatlian, unfortunately. Seems to be moving again. I think that may have been self-inflicted, as most incidents at the depot and the SSR.
Ooh, there's a bit of damage on that one. And he's
that
already made
bro?
all of his mandatory pit stops as well, so that's gonna hurt.
This is where you do a couple of laps to sort of suss out how the car is feeling, whether it's worth repairing the damage. I suspect
I have a
not.
feeling this one might be a fixer-upper. Looks a bit... He's not really going fast at all.
No, and he's about to lose position to Brimblecombe. He is deciding to stay out. So maybe he believes that he will have the pace to stay ahead of the cars behind. I think the gap to Brooker is quite large, so he might feel comfortable that he will be able to defend. Brimblecombe all over the back, and he sends it into turn 1. Pushes him all the way out, not really giving him all that much room, but it's a tricky corner to go side by side, and Brimblecombe does move up into P13.
Now, here's the telling thing. Yeah, he's already lost so much time on the straight. So,
Still an error dive into pit lane as well. Burrs almost 6 seconds behind Hello, so not a good second stop for him there. Bigfoot also lost quite a bit of time to Atkins in the pit stops as we get a replay here. What happened?
Dipper and... Oh,
Yep.
yeah, bit of damage on that one, I reckon.
I think anybody who's done more than 1 lap at Bathurst has had that incident.
Yes,
That's a very fair assumption.
It's a pretty common incident to have.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be too out of his comfort zone. It seems to be going okay, and I think the perceived gap on that first straight was maybe a little bit exaggerated by dipping a wheel into the sand. And
We'll see what the gap is now. Yeah, going down the mountain, I think, is where this car's struggling the most now.
okay, no, he lost a lot at the final part of the mountain there. And you see George Cook there dive into pit lane, so he's the last out of the front
Lost
runners.
1.5 seconds on the mountain alone, so it's going to be a bit of a crawl from here, but he's got a good gap to Bishop.
Can be fairly safe. George Cook has dropped all the way to P8 throughout these sort of pit stops, so his pit stops have really not been on point today.
No, P8 was about where he was before because of that damage he had with coming into the pits earlier.
Yeah, it's also fair. But Eamon Talisengo, Bigfoot in the Bentley Master Race, he is doing it proud. He's back up into P5 now. Well clear of Jack Steele. Pit stops have sort of played out. I think it's only Cranage left who still has to complete his pit stop. There's about 10 minutes left for him to go, so he'll probably leave that until the very, very last moment. But yeah, Bigfoot has had a very solid race. He's kept it clean. Had a bit of a poor pit stop on his first go around, or we suspect at least, because he lost a little bit of time. But apart from that, he's looked fast, he's looked competitive, and yeah, and the Bentley has sounded brilliant.
Indeed it has. You know, Pickford has been very good on his return to the Sprint Series, but Bathurst and the Bentley around here just seems to be his bread and butter. He adores this combination.
And it's the one track where the Bentley is still like legitimately competitive. Not quite like on the level of the top cars, but as we see, I mean, Pickford has put it right near the pointy end there in P5, so you can still compete in it. Speaking of unfavorable cars competing, Lucas Burrs running in P3. He's never really threatened for win this season, I don't think, but he's been in that top 3 pretty consistently throughout the season in a car that really hasn't suited any of the tracks, I would say.
You know, Lucas Burrs is somehow drags that Nissan to P2 in the standings for now, and it's just his consistency that has been very, yeah, I don't know, it's just been crazy to watch how that he's just been able to keep it consistent throughout the whole season in such an unfavourable car.
do some magical things in that car. We see Paul Kranich there running in P15, still with the one pit stop to go. Riley Grickich, running in P21 after starting from the pit lane. So, not a bad recovery. Getting all the way back up into P21, chasing down Aiden Payne. It's a big gap to chase down in 12 minutes. So I doubt that he will get to the top 20, but I know he will actually, because Paul Kranich will complete their pit stop. So P20 will be a pretty solid result for Grickich.
Indeed it will. I believe he started a little bit further up, but of course starting from pit lane because of his rookie error in not hitting drive within the 30 seconds that you have to hit drive. He'll be reasonably okay finishing in the top. It's okay, he's still going.
I'm gonna blame you for that one, because I already stopped saying nice things about him. You were still busy and getting it, so I think that's on you.
It wasn't a huge hit, come on.
I mean, he still hit the wall, so it's
Bathurst.
That's also true. That's a pretty standard lap at Bathurst, really, just tapping the wall.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it seems as though the Tom McDonald is very close to the back of Honey Curry there in P10.9. There's not too many close battles.
Oh, speak that there, that is pretty close. That is very, very close. Trying to go around the outside of Murray's. Now trying to go around the outside of held corner. Well, that turns inside out. Won't Curry's defending very well.
Now, the Porsche not renowned for its straight line speed, but it does accelerate very well. So you need a fairly long straight to get a good run on it, and it is super fast over the mountain. So Tom McDonald will need to try and stay as close as possible coming into Forest Elbow and get a good run down the conroad. Obviously you won't be overtaking on the mountain unless the driver ahead taps the wall. But,
I would just like to note, Honey Curry, I believe, started down all the way in P18, so has moved up 9 positions in this race.
Not too bad. Swampy about saying he was teleported to pits a few laps ago when he ended up on his roof on number 2. Are we referring? It's good. Package.
Oh dear, Curry! Oh my lord! That was so close to calamity.
That was a good save. That's not an easy place to save one of those moments. And managed to do it that time around. Then Grand Blue is just behind these guys. Well, you can see him on the little rear view screen there on McDonald's Ferrari. Let's see what the Ferrari can do versus the Porsche to come down the straight. Car 19 there, an incident at the cutting. Not exactly sure who that is. That is Grickich again having a bit of a calamity. Oh, McDonald so close. Curry places the car exactly where you want it to be. Lou gets very close to the back of McDonald there, manages to pull it up. And Curry is defending so smartly at the moment, just placing the car exactly where Tom McDonald wants his car to be. And gets a bit of a poor run out of the final corner. He'll need to go defensive immediately, otherwise McDonald could put a nose in there. Is he close enough to demand the track position? Very late on the brakes. And he gets through on Curry there. Curry just compromised his exit in the final corner, and that allowed McDonald to get alongside enough to justify the position.
He's got a little bit of a run, but he's going to have to go around the outside if he wants to get this move done. So I think McDonald should have the position just about sewn up now, and yeah, he does. So nicely done there by McDonald, just bided his time. Took a little longer than he probably wanted, but he's gotten up in the P9, and now Gruntley will be looking to sneak into that top 10.
Yes, I think McDonald will try and run away here, and Lou might have the straight line advantage. Can replay here. I'm guessing that's Grickich. Oh, he does a bit of Tokyo drifting all the way up into the cutting.
Taking the Jamie Win Cup line. There, going around the wall of the cutting. Not the most ideal line, but if the 7-time Supercars champion can do it, then so can you.
Happens to the best of us. Literally. I mean, Win Cup is one of the best of us. And
Yes.
he does it as well. I think this is pretty much the sort of last battle group on the track. Everybody else, why? Why grass?
Yeah, because
It's not as though the track is already challenging enough. You don't need to go on the grass to add a bit of extra spice to it.
a little bit of a sand trap.
Let's see if Lou here can do anything to Curry in the closing stages of this race. It looks as though he's piling pressure on McDonald. He's starting to build that gap already. Maybe Curry just struggling a little bit for pace from what I've seen in some other races and some broadcasts that I've watched. The Porsche seems to struggle a little bit on his tires in the sort of mid stage of a stint, so maybe that's just what Curry is going through at the moment. But yeah, Lou not quite close enough at this stage to get anything done.
Yeah, he's a little more as Mia Rose. Oh, so close to that 2 flat that we were talking up before. Oh, Lou! It was a little tight there for Bradley. And he's kept it going for now. Yeah, Mia Rose just 300ths off of flat 2. Could be a very big achievement in the race, but wouldn't surprise me if she dips it into the 59s given her quality pace. Yeah, keep an eye on this battle between Curry and Lou still. We'll see if Lou can get the run out of Forrest's elbow. Line like, oh, McDonald with a little bit of a wall tap. Lou nearly loses it.
Nearly loses it. Sorry, I apologize for nothing. He didn't get quite the run that he was looking for. I think he's quite close enough on Curry, but the BMW should have the overspeed by the time they get to the braking zone. Will Curry go defensive this time around? I don't think he needs to. He sort of half-heartedly does anyway, and Lou not really close enough to make anything out of that. Although Curry does touch the curb, and that's compromising his exit. Touches another curb and a lot of grass, and he's gonna have to go defensive into the final corner here. Lou forces him to go as tightly as possible. He should be able to maybe try the little switch back here. Gets a good enough exit.
He's having a loop.
He's late on the brakes into turn 1. Not quite late enough, and Curry manages to carry it around the outside there. Is he going to be close enough to move alongside? Will the BMW have the speed? He's close enough. The problem is going around the outside of this corner is very, very tricky to do. Let's see if he can make it work this time around. He might be settling back behind there and a smart move there by Grandu.
Meanwhile, Kranich has made his final pit stop, and he's still in P18, so that unlikely strategy has worked for him, and he is still the lead AM class driver.
I suspect that there's maybe ACC things that hasn't processed.
No, it did update. It updated.
Okay.
He is in P18 legitimately.
Rikic there had a big incident, and he returned to pits, as well as Scarney having an incident at the chase. Well, so a bit of a bad lap there for a couple of drivers, especially if you have the numbers 1 and 9 in your car number.
Just don't have the numbers 1 and 9 in your car number. Oh wait.
It's only my Enduro number.
No. Mine is 1 and 9, but backwards.
That's also true. So enjoy the wall, I guess. Is what
Thank you. I'll use the wall with great ferocity. Keep an eye on Curry and Lou still. The Lou wanting to get a move done before the end of this race to sneak into that top 10, but overall Curry's done a pretty good job. Does compromise his line a little bit, so that will give Lou a nice opportunity. Oh, but gets on the grass a little bit. Curry's going to have to defend going into Murray's, and it's going to be a super situation again as he tries to go around the outside. There's a little bit of contact between the two of them, but that's fair game. and Curry holds on. So that'll be another lap that Grant Liu will have to be behind Hani Curry.
A little bit of rubbing there, but famous words of Harry, rubbing is racing, as we see what happened to Eric Scarney here. I think that is a lap car potentially, and he just over a bit deep. Oh!
Ugh.
Okay.
Over-rotated the rear in a way.
It looks as though he clipped the curb maybe, and the curb just spat him off, but
Auto spin, yay!
unfortunately it was probably his second little spin of the day without damage, so he's good at avoiding the damage, just the spin's not quite so much, but yeah, Mia Rose crossed the line there. I think we'll have 2 more laps for these two guys here, so Lou will have a couple more opportunities to try and get a move done. Yeah, at the moment that is still really the only battle on track, which is quite weird to see after, what, 68 minutes of racing?
Mia Rose is 24 seconds clear of Bruno Gallo right now. This is sheer dominance on a whole other level.
She has been going, what, about 8/10 a lap faster on average than what Gallo has managed.
Wow. That is quite unbelievable. Oh, Curry. Curry's made a mistake.
Yep. Yeah, Lou is ahead of him. That is Lou's car just there. So, wondering what would have happened there, but I'm sure Lou won't be complaining too much if Curry made a mistake.
Yes, indeed. We'll have to have a look at that. But yeah, Lou has managed to consolidate what looks to be a top 10 position from this race. So he'll be very happy with that.
And free in class as well.
Indeed.
And SCOA pointing out in chat, if Slade left, he was running, what was it, P21 last time we saw? Oh no, it is in P20. So, oh, Slade, sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong number. Wrong name.
Oh, here we go. It's gonna be... Oh yeah, just a little bit of a time!
Oh, okay. I mean, that was trying to be very opportunistic by Lou there in a spot where opportunism normally gets you in a wall, and oh, Curry hits the wall again there. So yeah, that was cheeky from Lou to try and sneak around the outside there, but he did get his comeuppance at the end of the day.
Yeah. Not a move I would take, but it was a move that was taken, and Curry has not let this go too much. He's still holding pace for the moment, but I think he's going to have to settle for P11.
Yeah, I mean, there's still one lap for them after this, so Mia Rose is behind them on track, and she will only finish the race at the end of this lap. So potentially, if Lou makes another mistake, maybe, but yeah, it looks as though he should be in prime position to take that top 10.
Yeah, very good results for Lou. Not sure where he started, but I think it wasn't too far down. I suspect.
It was around P12 or something like that, not too far from where he is running now, but a solid race for him nonetheless in the BMW. And speaking of solid BMW races, Mia Rose coming down to the chase for the final time. She has been pretty much flawless, still running low 2-minute flat race pace towards the end of the race, so just super consistent, super fast. She's still pushing on this final lap, even though she's 25 seconds ahead. Comes down into Murray's for the final time, and she will take yet another win in split yellow here. Round 8 in the bag for her, and that will probably just consolidate the championship even more. Should be 150 points clear by now, so she could potentially miss a round and still win the championship.
Yes, no, she has been dominant all season long. Yeah, she had a rough start to the season at Silverstone, I believe it was, but since then it has been sheer dominance. Bruno Gallo will come home in a great P2. Yes, 25.5 off, but held on for a great podium. Of course, there was a bit of battling earlier on with Burrs and Adkins. Burrs comes home in P3. He'll be relatively happy with that. Adkins with the Pro-Am win, but be ruining a mistake at the case before. He could have had a podium out of this one. Then Pickford P5, great race on return, followed by Jack Steele, then Herod, Cook, McDonald, and Lou, your top 10. Cook as well, your silver class winner.
And 2 Pro-Ams in the top 5 there, which is a pretty impressive performance by them. But yeah, Gallo, I mean, he's very far off Mia Rose, but in a fairly unfavorable car. It's not its strongest track. He did a very good job of getting it up into P2. George Cook there, as you said, taking the win in the silver class. Tom McDonald was in a battle for this position for a couple of laps there and managed to get past Curry eventually and build a big gap after Lou and Curry had their incidents. And Brimblecombe in P12 there. Paul Cranich, he's still yet to cross the line, but he could potentially win the AM race here with Aiden Payne having crossed the line already. I'm pretty confident that Cranich will win this. So great result for him as well.
Yeah, fair play to Paul Cranich. He made an unlikely strategy work in the end, and he'll be pretty happy with P17. But Aiden Payne will take the lead of the AM Class Championship.
That is the end of the race there, and we will click over pretty soon to Split Green, but first we will look at the overall results for Split Yellow here at Mount Panorama, with Mia Rose taking the win, fastest lap and qualifying on pole, so a nice grand slam for her there. Bruno Gallo in P2 and Lucas Burrs in P3. And then in the Pro-Am class we have silver class we have George Cook, Bishop and Brooker. And then in the Pro-Am class we have Atkins, Pickford, Liu. And in the AM class, as mentioned, Greenwich, Payne and Stockton. Joe Williams still finishing 4th in class there, so not too far off. But he will have lost a little bit of points in the championship. And we'll be looking for a good result in the coming 2 rounds. And just before we hand over to our new duo in the box, can we get your driver of the day, Alexis?
I mean, I can't really go past Mia Rose. She was just unbelievable out front. Like, yeah, she's been great all season, but that race was just unbelievable from her.
She was supremely dominant, but I'm going to have to agree with JC here. Picky in the Bentley has to be my call. Just in that car, seeing it back on the mountain and doing so well. But we are going to hand it over to your Split Green commentators in the likes of Mitch Hobbs and Sean Bubnow.
Yeah, thanks JP. Thanks Alexis. That was some really great racing there in yellow. Can't wait to see how we go.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna Picky in the Bentley. It pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. I miss the Bentley being good, so good to see that he can get the most out of that car across the mountain. So well done to Mr. Pickford, and of course to the race winner Mia Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see what Split Green has in offer. Great commentary, of course, from JP and Alexis. Bowen there. Now, Mr. Bub, now, what are we expecting to see here at Mount Panorama this evening?
70 minutes of insane racing of
Right.
The adult version of Do Not Hit the Wall.
Great. But tell me this: are there any mandatory pit stops?
I believe there is not one but two lucky
Nice.
mandatory pit stops to be made.
I was just testing you. I'd already read the event information, but I thought you'd just like to inform everyone.
Oh, but of course. I mean, I did just steward the last split, so I mean, I well and truly knew there was 2 pit stops and didn't, not read the event information. But it's fine. It's fine. This is what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. We will await the movement over to Split Green. But in the meantime, there we go.
Split
As I was
Green
saying, it perfect.
has
Bam, it's right there. So a little bit delayed, of course, this evening as the races are 70 minutes. That is more than okay. We are here for the long run. So we'll just see the end of free practice. We'll see some drivers just getting their lap times in.
Including the Windows search bar. Yep. Oh, bonus. Here we go. We get the bonus features.
We love the
there.
bonus features of
The
what happens
upgraded
behind the
handstand.
scenes.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
But Tom Maloney at the moment, fast lap at 0.95 in the McLaren, followed across the line by Johnson, 10.5 behind. Pretty speedy at the moment. We are looking at optimum conditions on the track with a lovely 22 km grid. And 0 kilometre wings.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny for on Boulder Blue Johnson. It reminded me last week I spoke about which driver would be best on the barbecue. Now,
yeah.
Luke Johnson lost his vote, but he has given some millions he does do barbecue. And he has.
Your thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
10 out of 10 would go?
Yeah, I would go for that. I mean, I'm in the wrong state to give it a try.
Well, that would be me in the wrong state as well. Same state, that's fine.
Yeah, look, we are. That's okay. We both can't try it.
Well, not a case of we can't try, we just have to do a long travel to try it.
I'm doing that. Oh my! Yeah, that's really not. Yes. Yeah, it's funny. I'm doing that travel to another state next week, so maybe I need to go and change some of that.
Feelers out. You get less people
Sure they will, just on board here with Jed Cohen. It's coming towards the end of this free practice session. 22-28 conditions at the moment on the track. Nothing really to note other than that we're apparently still in split yellow, which is quite funny. So I mean, we can be in split yellow if we want.
That was originally your stopping around.
It was, yes, and then things happened and then everything changed and now I'm green.
Yeah, it's called adulting.
Yeah, funny that one, isn't it?
Yeah, no one really likes to drive. That's why we jumped on our wheels in a sim racing setting. Drive cars very, very fast.
Wait, we drive cars.
Well, look, we attempt.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you drive a car faster than I do.
Whoa! That's not how you drive a
Yeah.
car. Yeah.
Well, look, he went in too fast. Crossed up, but surprisingly, I saw that car do about 14.
Donuts. Yeah. I think hope you were watching out for Jed Cohen if that's the case, because I reckon he's got a brake bias a little bit too far back and he's doing things like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to test the Fez here. Thoughts on Ferrari Bathurst combination, Mr. Host?
Not ideal. I think people just assume, I would agree, most of the time the Ferrari's pretty good. In race trim, it's definitely up there, probably top 3, but in quali, it's so garbage. I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know what it is. It's it's the Ferrari things because it's very slow over the top. It's stable, but it's slow. If you make it dangerous, it's still not any faster.
Yeah, right.
It's to do, I believe, with the traction control. From what I've seen.
Yeah, because the Ferrari has that lovely ability of, like, TC7 feels good, but 8 feels garbage, but 9 feels great. But
No, it's not even that. It's just the way that it gets the power down over the... Well, I say gets the power down, doesn't get the power down, or has, like, a power cut over the top.
you need, like, that mid-TC mode, that, like, 6
Yeah. Oh, it's not... I don't even know if that it's... You need the low one. It's just that in the high one, there's no happy medium. There's not even a 4.5 would work, because if you go low, the rear's going to come around. But if you go higher, where the car doesn't kill you, you then get a little bit of power cuts. It's nothing huge. You can just hear it slightly through a couple of the corners. It just doesn't deliver the power that any other car probably would in that same given section.
Yeah, it's just enough that you know that you're going to have that little bit of lack of response from the engine from the other ones. I think it used to be the same in the Honda, if I'm not mistaken. It used to be make it pretty deathly, and it would be a rocket, but yeah, you'd die every second lap or something.
Green light, green
As we
light.
tick
Go,
over
go.
to qualifying for split green, as we see all the usual suspects heading out there straight away. Their strategy to get on the track as soon as fast as possible, trying to get in that extra lap if they can. 15 minutes ahead, so what's that, roughly 6, 7 laps if they're lucky, if you want to do a whole stint?
Probably, you'd be looking probably five okay laps, maybe 6 if you don't want to pit. But I recommend probably pitting here because you've got to take a fair chunk of fuel for 6 laps. And your tyres are not going to be in the optimum operating range, you know, after sort of the second fast lap, because you've got a cold lap, then you can have 2 fast laps, and then after that, let's just really drop off a bit. You've got to get them in the right zone for the hot lappings. We're on board here with Ben Hignett.
Who I
Currently,
believe has switched cars.
Has he switched cars? Oh, he was in
He was
Ferrari,
a
wasn't he?
Ferrari, and now he's in the Mercedes.
Well, I'm thoroughly disappointed in him.
Well, I would be, but I've seen that man drift that car on request, which is quite fun to watch. So I respect the fact he's gone back to the Merc. I knew that was coming. I didn't think it was going to happen until next season. But good to see him back on, I guess his love choice in his car. But expect that to be very fast over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Just letting the Ferraris by. I think that's kind of behind by the looks of the car number. Just going to come through, getting a bit of a flash, friendly flash there. Everyone's friends here. That's why you probably see random flashing during sessions, just waving. I say waving, the pretend waving. There you go.
Yeah, they're not reaching their arm out the driver's window there, are they?
No, they're not, but they're flashing their lights instead. It's basically the same thing. So Connor Hines going to take us round for the first quali lap here, coming down towards turn 1. It's a really tough corner, this one. It's really underestimated, I seem to recall, Bub. Now, if you get it even slightly wrong, you compromise the whole straight, basically the whole sector 1.
Yeah, look, I think I've nailed turn 1 here. Maybe once out of way too many laps to say, because the percentage of getting correct is astronomically low. But yeah, if you do not get turn 1 right, you are literally cooked for the first sector. There is no recovering the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, sector 1 does actually stop just out of turn 2, just coming through the cutting here now into sector 2. This is where the Ferrari loses out. There's a little bump there. You lose power again through here. That's what I'm talking about over the top. You get nice and close to the wall and does, but the Ferrari, you can go pretty much flat through here easily enough, even with those cold tyres, extremely close to the wall, but that's what you've got to push when you've got flat. You've got to lift a little bit through here, using touch the grass. That's okay. That's not as slow as people think. Really pushing it there. You can see the rear end just starting to get a little bit loose. Pulls it up though, probably not the most optimal line through the dipper, but that's okay. Coming down towards everyone's least favourite corner, aka Forest Elbow.
Oh, come on, you love it.
No, I don't. I don't love it at all. I think Hein pulled that one up really nicely though. So down onto Conrad Straight now. Now, you'll see the Ferrari should pull a pretty high speed here. The M4 and the Ferrari are pretty good overall, the top speed here. So let's have a look coming down through the chase. Let's see what can be done. Gets on the brakes nice and hard just before the 100-metre board there. Pulls it up nicely, uses a touch of the curb on the inside and comes to the outside under the Liqua Molly Bridge. Now down to the final corner. See if you can get it nicely down on the brakes, and we'll see what this lap brings Connor Hind to for the first lap. Wow.
2 minutes.
Straight up there.
Cool.
Yeah.
2 minutes, 0.4, with Hignett half a second behind at the moment. But well and truly expect those times to go sub 2 minutes without a doubt. I'm sure once the tyres get up to pressure and that. But I think you would probably agree as well. You can do your lap perfect, but that last corner, if you don't get Murray's right, you can say goodbye to a lot of delta.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really tough braking zone. I think a lot of people underestimate it as a corner as well. Of just how much, even the exit of it, not even specifically the braking zone, that you can get compromised. And John's asking the question, is it low wing for the Fez here? It's up to you. I would be running probably medium wing here myself, because I'm running roughly sort of medium wing with some reverse rake, just to help on the straights. And a bit of a tap
that's
wall there,
good.
Pignet. That's going to be a lot of time loss. Wow. But you can run low wing here and just have, you know, some rake, and it'll get the same response.
Yeah, don't ask me the question of what wing to run. I just hit drive and hope it works. And then I just complain to all my fellow teammates as to like, how do I make car do this? Please tell me how to do car do this. But as we see here, Benny Hignett up just on 3/10 at the moment, coming down Conrad. Going to get a little bit of a toe from Connor. That might help, but I'm not sure what the top end of the speed of the Merc is here compared to the Fez. But I still think it's one of those, you can run max wing here in the Merc and it just doesn't care.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the Merc. That's
Yes.
just how it is, unfortunately. The Ferrari, you'd probably looking at, you'd be looking at 5 or 6 wing, definitely 5 in quali, and then I guess it just depends. 6 in the race can be a bit safe, but I like to play it safe and a little bit slower over potentially dead, as Ignat goes 2 flat 0.6. That's a really good time. They're only 4/10 off Maloney's lap, so we'll see that one come down, I'm sure.
Oh, and as we see a fellow, an old driver returning to, Michael Babs.
Babsy's in there.
In the Porsche. Now, a bit of
Yeah, that's an
insider
interesting
information for you. He was not a big fan of
Oh, I
1.9.
do, yes.
Not a big fan of 1.9. Has decided, I'm going to jump in a Porsche for the good old shits and gigs, and has now fallen back in love with the game and the way the car works. So he's actually very happy driving that car, learning its abilities. He has praised it a few different times, so it should be interesting to see how he travels with the Porsche.
It's funny, the Porsche is my least favourite car. So, quite differing opinions there. I've already argued with him once or twice over that it's a piece of junk to me.
We do these things with Babs. It's good fun.
We do. It's great. He's having a bit of fun, though. He's 2/10 up at the moment, just coming over the top. Nice run through there. Keeps it nice away from the wall. Looking good so far. A little just lift there just to get the car rotated in. Now down Skyline. Oh, getting a little bit out of shape there, but pulled it up absolutely beautifully. Now down the dipper. Oh, he's going to be 4/10 up coming out of here. This is looking like a very solid lap from Bab so far, and he's still got about a quarter of the lap to go. Down Forest Elbow, looked a little bit late on the brakes, but pulled it up nicely.
Half a second up as well at the moment.
Yeah, he just compromised the exit a little bit there. Down Le Conrod straight towards the chase bub now. Now, this car will be a little bit later on the brakes than some other cars, because it's pretty good on the brakes if you just mash the gears down, get that engine braking right as Connor Hines about to come across the line and take P1.
It's not a 59 yet.
It's not.
Bloody close.
Absolutely. And Bab here is going to go 6/10 up. Hine doing a 2 flat 0.087. Oh, that M4, that was a last minute decision to get out of the way. So it's going to be 6/10 up for Babs, going to put him up to P6, almost matching Smith there, 1/100th off there. So some good time here for Bab if he can get a couple more laps in. Gia Coleman, though, in the Ferrari, just under 7/10 off the pole time here. A 10th up, though, after the first sector. Let's see what can be done over the top of now.
He's just going to try and gain a 10th here, half 10th there, but he did lose a bit there coming out of the cutting. But much of the lap still remaining, obviously. A lot of cars do go flat across the top here. Let's see if he does that slight lift just to get the nose turned in. Yeah, there's a little bit of a little slight lift, and away we go into Skyline. One of the hardest parts of this track. Oh, and that's not
dead.
blind.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I saw the car.
How we not do that corner.
Yeah, that's right. That's not how you do Skyline. I saw the car rear end just wiggle a little bit on the entry, and I was a little bit worried for his health and safety there.
Well, now we know why.
Now we know why. Yep. He's
But
got it.
Johnson, on the other hand,
yeah. I mean, this is
exiting the elbow, half a second up, doesn't lose too much on exit.
Yeah, about a 10th there.
Yeah, a bit of 10th, but I think the McLaren here, correct me if I'm wrong, is actually quite speedy in a straight line on its own outside the toe as well. So shouldn't lose
Well-
too much time
Well,
down.
this will tell you. So, let's
270.
have a look. 280. Ooh, that's not very fast, actually. Considering I know what the M4 and Ferrari can do, that is not as quick as you might think.
And still quick in my opinion, because I don't think I
Oh,
go
it's
that fast.
quick. But yeah, 283. That's probably more something I'd expect to be seeing, I reckon, in the race. So I reckon he's running higher wing. Let's have a look across the line. P3, 2.3, only 2.5 tenths off the whole time of Hines. So still more to come here with just under 5 minutes.
Well, there you go. John can confirm that must be Hoving because he runs 287. And yes, it is actually quite strange hearing Bab enjoying the game due to the Porsche.
Yes, I
Whoever
know.
would
There's
have
a
thunk
weird
that.
combination there. I don't quite understand it myself.
Look, it's Babsy, and that's all I need to say.
Great, yeah, sure, we'll go with that explanation. Down through turn 2 now, Johnson wide of the apex, so loses a little bit of time. So I think it's going to be a struggle to get that time back over the next lap. I think he's might have come in a bit early, so maybe this could be his final lap to come up early. Take home into the pits, but drivers currently on a fast lap. So drivers are
Some
putting
are,
in their
some are
best.
not. You can tell that
Some
by
are
the
not,
blue
but-
dots.
Well, they could have just invalidated here, which is possible. It's very hard to do, but it is possible. Oh, nice and bad on the brakes. Just pulls it up nicely. So Danny was a 10th and a bit up, just lost it on the exit there. Coming down under the little Molly Gantry now, down towards the final corner. Let's see what time can be gained. Only needs 4/100 to get past Secluna. And he's going to get it, I reckon, but maybe only the one position. Doesn't even go there. Yeah, it's silly Bathurst Delta. I forget about this. So you have to not necessarily pay attention to the Delta here because it's usually about a 10th line.
Yeah, I don't think it was too much on the Delta there. I saw him come sort of fairly deep into the last corner there and just lost it on the exit. I think that's just didn't carry enough corner speed there. But once again, following a car, trying to maintain your lap speed is one of the hardest things to do, especially in quali. I mean, once you're in a sort of race rhythm, it's a little bit easier to judge the gaps, and obviously you're not trying to push too hard every lap. You're sort of more waiting for a mistake to happen. But as we're back on board here with Connor, he's just under a 10th down at the moment. Gonna see if he can gain any time through the chase and the last corner of Murray's, but gaining 2 tenths between now and then is pretty hard because there's only 2 corners, and he's just gained a 10th with me not even trying. Check this out, bub. Now this is how it's done, Connor's saying, but lost a 10th on the exit there, last corner. Let's see how we go.
Yeah, it's definitely time in there. I reckon, ooh, on a perfect lap, which he's got 2 laps to do, there's probably a 59 in this, but he's going to have to really push it if he wants that. Good exit out of turn 1, just possibly a bit too much curb, might get a slipstream from the M4 in front. If he's lucky, he's got a 10.5 gap to Maloney. Maloney's pretty much going to have to pull either extremely low 2 flat out here or a very high 59.9, maybe even more if he can pull that one out the bag. A little bit wide there from Connor, so he's going to lose some time. Had to lift, didn't want to hit the wall. So there's a 10th in that corner alone to be found. So there's the 59 if he can find the time at Mr. Bub now. Over the top he goes now. Let's have a look at the run. Just didn't quite get the exit. It's another crucial corner, I think, Sean, that a lot of people underestimate. Coming out of the cutting there, even if you slide slightly, that's your whole top run gone. And what is this mess?
Oh, that is...
Whoa.
yeah, unfortunately, there was some incidents going on there, but if he does keep the boot in, I noticed that he did keep, like when he crossed the line, there was about 2 minutes 20 remaining on quality.
There
So
was.
he has enough time to get back around and do one last dash to see if he can get into that 59 territory. But yeah, that whole Reed Park section, yeah, if you sort of stuff it up, you're done for the mountain. There's nothing you can really do. You really have to be on point the entire lap to really get this.
Ooh, Smith's lost all the time. Yep,
We
just
don't
lost
want
on
the
exit.
like that, unfortunately. But P6 at the moment for Smith. Not a bad day in the office, sitting currently P2 in silver class by the look of it.
Yeah, wouldn't be complaining about that one at all. One more lap for Smith. He's got Bab just creeping up, as we said earlier. Just that 1/100th behind there for P2 in the silver class. And they've even got Danny there in the Pro-Am class. As we see Giacomo at the moment flying 2 tenths up, 2.5, making up for the mistakes that he made on that 2 flat, 0.6 lap. This is looking good so far, and he's 2/3 of the way through the lap. Let's have a look at the downhill run. That's really good.
That was really nice. Yeah, half
I like that a
second now.
lot. Ooh, just lost it out of the dipper though. Lost, I reckon, a tenth and a half
Yep.
easily there. Down Forest Elbow. Let's see if we can pull this one up. Has a lot of time there. There's a Merc just in the wall. Lost again, probably half a tenth there. Yeah, just down Conrod now. 4 tenths up. This would definitely put him in contention for P2 here if we can just hold this one in. Losing a touch bit of time because of the exit that wasn't most ideal. Let's have a look at straight line speed. 285, 6, 7. That's about what I'd be expecting. Bit of a tighter line through there. And just holds it. But, of course, the delta does lie here. So let's see this one plays out. Final corner now. Smashes the brakes. 5 tenths. It's not going to be enough for pole. But I reckon P2, he's got it.
Will do good enough, though.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be complaining about that one myself. But, of course, Maloney, as I say, that has just jumped into the pit. So he's out. Connor does have one more lap up the sleeve. But he's a tenth down. So I don't think we're going to see an improvement from him.
We don't really need to see an improvement. He's already got the lovely P1 done and dusted because Luca can't do any more, and neither can anyone else. And I don't think Rashuti, even though he is almost half a second up, but dropped a little bit on exit of the elbow there, down only 4 tenths up now. Don't think that's enough. Oh, that's Connor doing his lap there, but that's fine. Rashuti, 4 tenths up, coming through the chase. 278, 79. That seems really slow.
Yep, the Lambo is slow. No, that's Lambo. He's hit too much bump there, so he's lost 2 tenths on the exit there easily. Don't want to hit that. Really bad exit. He's almost 2.5, 3 tenths now. Down to the final corner. What can be gained back? Can he get enough to get some positions up? P9, I reckon he's only going to go P8. Yeah.
Still good, still good.
Smart.
I didn't realise how much. Oh, has been. Sorry, it's
Ooh, hello.
Hello.
P7, boy.
I didn't realise, as I was saying, how much of a brick wall that Lambo hits once it hits 6th gear, especially down Conrod. It just it's got nothing. It's got no legs.
It's a pretty well built brick wall, I can tell you that. It just is so slow on the straights. That's, 6Ks down on the M4, even 8Ks down. The M4 can do, 288 even down the straight, 289 if you're not careful.
think we're good, but that's okay. We all go around single file here. But as you're saying, back on strategy, Mr. Hobbs.
Yeah.
If you're in the pointy end of the field, so maybe the top 10, you probably want to at least go to like that 30-minute mark, I'd say. Hopefully you can avoid some carnage. But I think if you're in the new pack, if you're feeling like you're getting held up, you probably want to come in for a quick stop, get some fresh rubber on, and because obviously we know there's going to be some incidents happening. Concrete walls very close to track, sort of breed that catastrophe nonetheless. But yeah, definitely, you know, the race engineers in our heads will be going, go for strap A, no, strap B.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think after turn 1, turn 2, or even lap 1, that's when you start to really play out when the best chance is. But the pit window opens, 5 minutes into the race and closes 5 minutes towards the end. So many things to unfold in this 70-minute race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the strategy will be on the fly. I reckon if you can at least go 20 minutes first stint, and then from there, I mean, that still leaves you 50 minutes, and then do maybe a half an hour stint, and then 20-minute stint to finish it off. Or you could go 20, 20, 30. Even if you wanted to do that, that could work depending on your strategy and how much fuel you take from the start.
Is this where we take on the F1 style race and go 2 different compounds and go soft, medium, hard?
Oh yeah, I
medium, hard,
wish.
soft?
Yeah, that's not quite how it works.
No, unfortunately, that is only F1 teens and not GT3 teens. But it should be interesting. I reckon keep an eye out on the McLarens in P3 and 4. They might have a bit of top end over the Ferraris ahead, but it all depends on what kind of wing they're running. But as I said, the battle of the championship at the moment is between Connor and Maloney, and the other one separated most points at the moment. I reckon, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, usual suspects, the top sort of 5. Good to see Smith up there, Bittman's there as well. Babsy, the dark horse out of nowhere. Rashidi, as we see the field go double file, as they just trundle down at that lovely slow 80 kilometers an hour through Conrod as we get the grid in order.
Yeah, absolutely. Drivers getting ready. Their tyres and brakes are warm. They're getting ready for the race start. You'll probably see Maloney straight onto Hind to turn 1 because the Ferrari is pretty average on the race start. The McLaren is really good, but you might also see Hignett on the back of Maloney because the Merc's really good on the start as well. Porsche, you might see Bab on
at the moment.
He is, yeah. Yeah, well, just trying to send a message there maybe that I'm coming for you. So we just come under the gantry. See what the drivers can do.
Alrighty, I think I'll give this a crack. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I don't do anything too bad as we come into the last corner, ready for the race to go green. 2 Ferraris leading 2 McLarens. Let's see if Hein and Giacomin can get a decent launch here as we wait for the lights to go green. Going down the double file lines of the pit boxes, and should be going away any second now. And
Go.
lights go. Maloney just pulls straight in the gingerbread livery. We go 3-1 to turn 1. Oh, Tom gets a little bit crossed up and hit. There's a car park. There's 4 wides. Actually, we're not doing too shabby. That looks worse in the background than probably what it actually is. But Giacomin definitely got the better launch around turn 1 than Connor did. And Hignett jumps up into P3 as we see a couple go 3 wide in the background there. So far, so good. Maloney has dropped back a few posies, but not too shabby. Oh, there's a couple cars around that. It's going to be a safety car.
There's going to be a safety car.
That is a really bad spot for a instant delivery, and there it is. Yeah, top shout to the stewards doing that, because that could have ended a lot of cars in chaos very early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting thing to note, Giacomin, as you said, has taken P1 from Hind, and from what my memory recalls, any time that Giacomin has taken the lead from not starting in the lead, he has won the race. bar maybe one time where you had penalties that I can think of.
So now what you're saying is clear track for Giacomo equals bye-byes.
Well, I'm not counting Connor out because Connor is extremely fast, but Giacomo, I don't really want to put this the wrong way, but he's had a few troubles in terms of penalties when he's been behind people, but when he's been in front, he's been flawless. So don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I reckon he's got a pretty good chance here to take this from Connor.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. Be interesting to see how that turn 1 incident gets unpacked, because obviously there will be a little bit of argy-bargy and 3 wide into corners, and I dare say a few drivers may have caught out a few numbers there, and obviously all the incident through turn 2. So hopefully not many things were too bad in terms of penalties for the drivers, but that obviously could shuffle a few cars around the order a little bit. But I think the front a few were fairly clean, so Luca might be in for a good shout, as you said.
Yeah, definitely. Connor will definitely take this to him though, and that turn 2 incident certainly was not going to help either. Here back in the race, a bit of a tap there. That was Johnson and Jake Brown. So Giacomo's going to take the restart here. I reckon he might have taken it early, has he? No, he hasn't. He's going to hold this one up. I reckon he's going to wait until the latest moment possible, or maybe try and back them up into the final corner and just go mid-corner. That's probably where you want to be on the restart. Let's see how Giacomo handles this one.
He's going to have to go soon though, because that's
gone. Yep, he's off.
Around the corner.
So that was always going to happen. Of course, you've got to get going before the start-finish line. And he has actually caught Connor napping there. And it's not an ideal situation because Connor's got Hignett right there. And Vinton is not too far behind. Rashudi's there as well. Barker's in this one. Maloney as well. Greco's jumped up a few positions as well. So Giacomo in a comfortable position now. Still plenty of racing left to be done here. Rashudi on the inside of Vinton might get this one done, but he's going to take it to him on the outside, but there's going to be absolutely no grip. So I think Vinton might just have to back out, and does, literally there by half an inch or so. Coming through the cutting now. Out they come. Rashudi's got a great exit out of there. Vinton will probably have to back out of it.
Yeah, and just going across the chat there for a second, Ethan, he just did a car swap. Yeah, you're entitled to do it. You can if you want at any point in time. Was in a Fres, you weren't mistaken that. He's now jumped back to his Mercedes.
Yes, you've only got one swap.
Oh yeah, one swap. And has now chosen to stick with that for the rest of this evening's festivities and probably the rest of the sprint season, I dare say.
Oh, that's someone in the wall. Who was that? That is
another safety car.
No, I think it might be okay.
Oh, that'd be good.
There's probably a caution there. There's a lot to unpack there. Just on the McLaren round. I can't quite work out who that was. It might be Guzman, in fact. I just want to see. Oh, number 8. Who is number 8? Tell us now.
Not in our
Greco. There you go.
Greco, there you go. As you see, Greco dropped down the timing sheets there. That was very lucky though. That could have been a lot worse in terms of a grid lockout over the top of the mountain. Has happened here before in OR. I may have been involved. That's beside the point. But Danny here is cruising up the field. Well, down the field at the moment. So it must have caught an incident early because that did start in P10.
Ooh, bold move from Smith there to pit. Reckon that's probably not the worst strategy, to be perfectly honest. Getting out of the traffic early. Danny trying to get down the inside of Go. Let's see what happens down into turn 1. Oh, around the outside. Oh, he's trying to push it. He needs to get the slipstream if he doesn't want to get caught by Wayhin. That is okay. I think we actually saw a bit of damage on Devon Carrahara. Oh my goodness, I almost butchered that name.
You've done well, because I would have butchered it. Maloney in the pits looking for that fresh air as well after the obviously getting caught up in that turn 1 kerfuffle early on. And yes, that is a word I'm using. But
go for it.
Rashudi up to P4 at the moment. Going to try and chase down Hignett. Dittner sitting at P5. Has already got a 1 second buffer over Dittner, so obviously getting the job done early. He's got that little bit of fresh air. A little bit more pace than early on by the look of it. Could be possibly running a bit more light fuel, maybe going for that 20-minute, 30-minute, 20 strat you might have said earlier there, Hobbsy. But at the moment, Luca still leading. Connor only 6/10 behind, so hasn't really said sayonara to the pack, and Connor seems up to the challenge, definitely hunting down. And also, Hignett still only half a second behind Connor as well. So the front three definitely not letting each other out of their sight. As we come down to a complete, what, this is lap 3? Yes, 3. And it's about just over an hour of racing as we see.
So yeah, this is Greco. Devenu Graha was the name I was trying to get out, but I couldn't. Oh, just lost it on the exit. Bang! That's why Smith pitted. That was Smith that just pile drived him, and then some more pile driving. Go there. Danny was in there as well. A lot of small hits there. Gia Coman is absolutely having none of it from Hines. Hines actually dropped a second back, but there is a lot of strategy involved in this one with the 2 pit stops. If there was 1 pit stop, there'd still be some strategy involved, maybe not as much. You want to make sure you get the pit stop bang on, get yourself in the lines, get the stop as optimal as possible. Try and get no damage, so you don't have to repair anything where possible. But now Gia Coman currently leading this race, just under 8 minutes into this. Of course, anything can change though, brother.
Oh, it's Bathurst. I mean, things can change per corner here, considering, you know, concrete jungle and all those fun things. But Connor here, still only 8/10 behind. He did lose out a little bit over the last lap. Nothing too crazy, only a couple of tenths. But the big loss out there was Hignett. He was half a second, but now 1.7. So something's obviously happened, or he's got a bit crossed up on exit. But there's definitely a substantial gap now between P2 and P3. The rest of the field doesn't seem too shabby. Johnson's trying to fight Barker for the silver category P1 position at the moment, being 1.4 behind him as well. But it's just good to see that there is that tight battles, and we see a 10-second penalty happen for Smith for jumping the start. Getting a bit too angsty, waiting for the green light, and unfortunately gets a bit of a 10-second penalty.
Yeah, Stewart's already on to the starting procedure penalties, and then they will jump onto the larger incident that happened on lap 1 there. But for now, we'll continue with Jer Coman, who is 7.5 tenths ahead of Hind at the moment. Of course, anything can change. Hind was 1.1 behind at the start of this lap, so maybe Hind's is starting to get in his stride a little bit here, coming down to the final corner. Look at the replay. This was the incident at turn 2 on lap 1. And yeah, that's Hind is on at 2 flat 5, but that's a rough incident. There's a lot to break down there for the stewards, so don't expect any penalties for quite some time while the stewards break that one down.
No, and I think I just want to put a shout out to any tree lopping service. If you could just cut a few of those trees down so we can get a better angle, that would be fantastic. But unfortunately, we are limited to what cameras we are available. But obviously, the stewards have every camera available, plus a pause feature and slow down feature. So I'll definitely unpack that far better than what we can here in the comms box, Mr. Hobbs. But Luca here just losing a little bit of pace to Connor. He's definitely closed that gap back into that half a second range. They are pulling a bit more of a gap away from Ben Hignett as well. But at the moment, I think, Connor's just going to enjoy seeing the back of that Fez going, yeah, I'm just here. Hello. Still waving. Still saying hello.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just need to get the arborists in now, chop those trees down. So that they don't block our view. Jer Coman, though, view is certainly not blocked, but dare say Hines is by the rear view of Jer Coman's Ferrari down towards Forest Elbow. Hines looked a little bit later on the brakes there than Jer Coman. I reckon Jer Coman may have locked it because he wasn't as close to the wall on the exit there as I would usually expect. Down Conrad.
I got a better exit. Sorry, the exit was better there by Hind, in my opinion, but I'm not the fastest. Definitely looks a lot closer at this aspect of the race.
Yeah, certainly close. A little bit earlier on the brakes there than they would do in quali, just because they've got that higher fuel load. Hind's got a great exit out of there, right there now. But, I mean, if you're Connor and you get close to your pit,
that is one of the strategies that is available to him at this stage, but I think I mean, 4/10. He's quick, but I don't think he's substantially quicker. So at the moment, he'd be running the risk of, if he does come in the pit, where does he reappear on the track? And I mean, if you just look back at that track map in that sort of last corner, there's a lot of traffic there. So I mean, obviously, he doesn't want to get caught up in that when he does come for a pit, because that gap that he's going to try and obviously do the overcut, if it was the case, would just vanish instantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just had a quick check. If you take tyres here, which are mandatory, it is a 56-second stop. So if we look at where there's about a minute left to go on the track, I'm not quite sure where that is around here.
It's about halfway.
Well, you say that, but it might not.
It's probably
necessarily be.
about here.
Probably about here, yeah. Ooh, Pine just getting a little bit all over the place there. So if you look at where the cars are, let's have a look.
Oh, there we go, better angle.
There we go, but less trees. Ooh, so Smith's been involved twice.
Oh dear. There's a lot going on there. Good luck to the stewards. We'll send you Dan Murphy's voucher later.
They can certainly have that one. So what you want, what Hein wants to look at is, 56 seconds, so about a minute for into the lap is, if you look where the driver, if there are any drivers on that specific point in the track, that's where you're going to come out, or who you're going to come out near. So you might just need to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, they're so slow, but it looks like Connor's lost it here. It was like 4/10, now 1.2, so maybe had a bit of an incident, maybe clipped the wall, or just over-exhausted the braking potential of the car, but definitely lost out in that lap to Luca, who's done a very nice job of a 2.6 on that one, so that's his best lap of the race so far. So Luca definitely on speed again. Jumping back into our leading Pro-Am driver of Danny, was starting to contend that back up to 14 now, was lower than that, so definitely making their way back through the field. So try and get go around the outside of Costa here in that McLaren. Decides not the opportunity, but just going to tack on the rear and see if we can get a run up to turn 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough place to get around the outside at turn 1. You're going to have a slipstream, should have some good straight line speed here, but so does the McLaren, so maybe you might just stick the nose out here, and does. Shouldn't dive this one though, and doesn't. Almost did. I think that Costa may pull Danny out a little bit there, but that's okay. Through the cutting they come now. They're in two different classes, so they're really just fighting for an overall position here. Danny's in that lead, as you said, now, so
even if you are in the class lead, you all know that you're that close to the car ahead, and you can sort of almost reach out and touch the diffuser. You just want that position. You're going to push regardless. There's no, I'll just sit here and wait. You want that posse. You want to see how far up the grid you can get. So Danny's not going to sit here for too much in my eyes. He's going to definitely try and see where he can size it up. And I dare say if he gets a good exit onto the straight here, he's definitely close enough to get the legs in the beamer. Should get this McLaren, but he's had a shocking exit. Looks like he's putting the wall there, but we also saw that, I think that was the Porsche of Babsy get very crossed up on the exit of the elbow as well, so that's going to compromise him down in the chase.
Yeah, there's a lot of compromising that certainly can happen here. If you look down through the chase, Danny might stick the nose out again, and just did for half a second there, if that, just to let Costa know that he's there. Maybe this is where Danny takes it. He's getting held up a bit. He's going to stay out though. Just needs some short. I think Danny will come out clean air, so maybe a bit of worse strategy for him to jump into the pits. As Rashudi does exactly that. There's not really any sort of threatening space for anyone. Decides to go for his strategy of a 15-minute first stint, and maybe he's going to go for a half an hour and another half an hour, 35-minute stint in fact.
Yeah, I think you'll start to see. Yeah, you'll start to see a few of those strategies come into play now. A lot of people probably say that 15-20 minute mark. You may have done it as like a semi-qualifying session, so to speak. Burn that set of tyres. Babsy goes a little bit sideways on the exit of turn 2 there in that Porsche. But I mean, it must be fun. He's probably having a good old time there with the lads. But yeah, the next probably 5-10 minutes, you'll start to see everyone sort of ticking off their mandatory first stop. But also just keep an eye on our early pitters. Like Tom Maloney, they're back up into P22 at the moment, still sitting in fresh air by the look of it, just coming in out of turn 1. So it'll be interesting to see once these front runners take their first stop, whereabouts slots back into things, because I believe when he did pit he was about P6 off the top of my head. But
Yeah, somewhere around there, 6 or 7, something.
definitely something to look out for. This is where strategies start to come into play.
Absolutely. Now we've got Bab just fighting with Usman. Both got to be completely honest, a pretty garbage exit from both of them. Just getting off the straight now. Bab's going to have the slipstream, but the McLaren's going to have what's called top speed, because the Porsche is not an ideal car for top speed, but Bab is going to have the braking advantage. So Usman does defend. I reckon he's a bit late on the brakes there. Just pulled it up beautifully. Bab just struggling a little bit there through the liquid molly gantry. Usman knows he's got to defend this, even though it's not necessarily for class position, it is for overall position. So, oh, he's really just weaving a little bit here. Don't particularly like this, but that's okay. Sticks to the middle of the track. Bab is going to get a good run, possibly, unless Usman's pulled that up, which I reckon he has. And now he's at threat from Costa and Danny, who are fighting as well. And we've got Richardson and Hackey behind as well. So Bab, I reckon Bab needs to pit here.
Yeah, I think he's getting held up here by Usman, but I don't know whether you could see Bab, he probably did the smart thing coming through the chase here. He actually backed off and let the McLaren go ahead and try to do like a bit of over-under, but unfortunately the Porsche instead doesn't have the legs on the straights, but at the moment this was just a 2-car battle, but now a player 3 and 4 have entered the game. So yeah, probably if I was Babsy, I'd be looking at when the opportunity does arise to get out of this traffic, because if I do have that extra, you know, a couple of tenths per lap of speed, getting out of this battle is probably the best shout to do at the moment. But definitely knows what kind of fuel he's running versus weekend only, I guess, and you know, it's much easier to make a decision here in the stewards box when you've got all the information. Stewards box? Comms box. We'll get it right one day. But we've got much more information on track than what he has, and we basically know that he should emerge in some fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely, but probably not something he can calculate on the fly like we can with the information that we have. Now down Conrod. Bab's in a bad position here. He's got cars all around him that should have good straight line speed. He's got slipstream, but so do the cars behind. So I'm expecting maybe just even a stick out of the nose here, just from Costa, just to let him know that he's coming. But Danny sticks a nose out on Costa instead. Oh, Jesus heavens Christ, on a bike.
No word.
Okay, so Bab is definitely pitting now.
Well, that's one way to confirm a pit stop.
Yeah.
Not the one that he wanted.
No.
As I say, is he coming in for a second there? I didn't know he was going to go in, but yeah, definitely. That's a very beaten up rear end on the Porsche.
And that's not where you want damage on the Porsche either.
No, I mean, in terms of where it happened, he's lucky he only had, what, 300 meters of track to transverse in the car with a really broken rear end. So that's not the worst thing, but
oh my god. Oh my god.
Yes.
Look at Page. Bloody Page.
Oh, the dad puns are strong.
Oh no.
It'll cost her enough. As we're back on board with Hignett here. Sitting 3 seconds behind Connor, who's got the fastest lap. 1.6 behind Ingia Coman. That is your top 3 steps of the podium. Obviously, because there's only 3 steps. Yes, that's how good my brain works.
Yeah, good stuff. That's good.
Yeah, we're doing well. The dad joke is it's rocked my brain. It's doing.
He's rocked. His world has been rocked down the Conrod Straight. Hignett goes in a bubble at the moment, so he's really got free roam here of the sort of strategy he wants to partake in. We haven't seen Giacomo or Hind pit as of yet. They are just coming round to the final corner, so maybe one of them, I dare say, could jump in the pits. Unless they're just, maybe one of them's waiting for the other to make them move and see what the strategy play here is. Now let's see what Costa did here. I had a sneaky suspicion that there was a missing of the breaking point. Big time. Yeah, big time. Yeah. Look, I'm going to be honest. When you miss your breaking point, I don't see why you should aim for a car.
No, like we had this discussion in the steward's room previous race that at that point, like we understand that you sort of go, oh, the track goes to the left, but I mean, if you are locking up, just turn to the right. I mean, yes, you're gonna have a bad time, but you won't literally T-bone another car. And you know, just to get a dad joke, it's Costa after you a few calls as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we might see the stick come out from the stewards, but we'll leave that decision up to them as we see on board now. Gia Coman in 313 simschool.com.au. Ferrari coming over the top now. It's just a blue flag up ahead that he'll probably look to get past reasonably soon, unless he maybe even takes this opportunity coming up to this car to jump into the pits, because you can see everyone in the top 15 still hasn't pitted, and it's about to change since Quinn has pitted, so make that top 14 haven't taken their first mandatory pit stop, so we'll see how that one plays out. This blue flag's going to get out of the way from Giacomo pretty quickly, and does so in a very timely manner. Very nicely done there. Down Con they do come. Yeah, couldn't really ask for much better there. Down through the chase. Let's see, maybe Hind might see this blue flag coming up and jump to the pits. We don't exactly know what they're thinking, unless they're looking to extend maybe the first stint and have two shorter stints at the end. I'm not quite sure what strategy is here from these two as of yet.
Maybe to do that 30-minute stint, as I said early on, who knows, but just a shout out, that's not how you do the exit of the final corner there, but that's okay. You're a blue flag, you're not racing these two around, so you've got plenty of room to deal with that information. But speaking of pit stops and that, just had a quick look at the positions of the current one that have ticked off stop. Tom Maloney was actually behind Raschuti pre-pit stop, but is now actually 3 positions ahead of Raschuti. So that overcut working gloriously to his advantage, and depending on how his pace is at the moment, could actually be up near the bottom step of the podium at this stage. But obviously we won't know that until the front runners pull in, but I dare say pulling out some mega times in that clear track at the moment. So definitely going to see a shuffle of the top order in the next probably 10 minutes.
Bloody P just pulled out the Yamundo. Oh, God help us.
He's pulling out all the good ones tonight, isn't he?
I don't know if I call that a good one.
Maybe he did the best one with the Costa joke, and that's bottom of the barrel now.
I don't know if I'd even call that good, but that's okay. Usman at the moment is doing a great job here. Currently sat P6 as the timing boards decide to refresh themselves. Coming out of the cutting, currently fighting with Hackney for the M-Class lead here, Bubba.
I'm a big fan. M-Class lead, only 7/10 behind. That's pretty spicy, and then obviously Richardson not that far behind as well, only 1.7 off these guys. So even though they're not quite battling right in our screen of view right now, there he is. You just see the back of that Beamer duck around the corner there. Not far off, so keep in mind that we're going to hopefully close up in the next lap or so, and then we'll get a three-way battle.
Yeah, absolutely. No real movement as of yet from anyone in the top 13 still in terms of wanting to go into the pits. Top 2 still sticking it out. Vincent is probably not too far behind either. Whether he will jump into the pits, I don't think so. I see he's actually fighting with Johnson at the moment. Hignett has got a 10-second penalty for causing a collision on lap 1, so that's going to ruin his chances potentially of a podium. If Vincent actually jumps into the pits, that's why him and Johnson were so close. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one for the pit stop strategy between them two. As Usman goes deep, Hackey's going to get past, I reckon, for the M-Class lead. Oh, that was a very scary rejoin there. As Hackey actually goes into the pits, that's probably a pretty good strategy there, because Usman lost all the time and it's got really dirty tyres, gravelly tyres. So that's probably a good one there from Hackey to jump into the pits. And Richardson's actually even jumped in as well, so maybe there might be some more positions to be had there. Lost for Usman.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the better better call there. Obviously, he's going to have some bit of grain tyres and all that kind of fun scenario. So those tyres on Usman's car is not going to be feeling the best after the little excursion off the asphalt there. But the other two behind it will probably capitalise on his mistake as we jump aboard with Benny Hignett. Just got that 10-second pen. Has already done a mandatory, so he'll have to serve it next time he ducks into the pits. But at the moment, where has he come out? And how far behind is Tom Maloney? Because there's the other one that was in the front fighting for posies at the moment. So that'd be a good gap speed
Oh,
there.
a lot of people are pits, so we're just not too late.
Yeah, it looks like Tom's actually coming into turn 2 now. So not that far. It looks like he's made up a lot of ground.
Yeah, absolutely. So not too far behind. Decided to get themselves sorted out a little bit. Only 3, 2, 6, 7 seconds behind.
Although there was a quite substantial gap earlier on. So obviously with there's a big slide there from the Merc, but obviously looming 10-second pen that actually will put him behind Maloney in the next lot of stops, providing that no damage happens or no incidents occur between the two drivers or themselves or the walls or anyone else on track. But obviously that position. On attack. Oh, okay, here's the one that Maloney. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we've all done little things like that where we think we have enough room, but unfortunately, the moves and the room sort of vanishes very quickly. But not too bad in terms of a pen, all things considered.
Yeah, nothing too bad at all. I mean, so you can put him, you know, 1 or 2 positions behind, so it's not the end of what's certainly recoverable. After the second pit stop, in fact, so Hignett just needs to pull that gap out where possible, so the time can be minimised. Brown gets a 5-second throw causing collision on that one as well.
Might just be a secondary thing, maybe up into the turn 2 incident. That was a lot to unpack for the steward, so I'm sure we'll start to see a lot of those penalties flow through now, as we see Con getting a 10-second for a lap 1 incident causing a collision. But on board here with Johnson.
Maloney and Vincent are behind, fighting.
Yeah, at the moment, we're going to be jumping 2, and Tom looking very, very speedy. Going to go around the outside of turn 2 potentially.
No, he won't, because there won't be enough grip. Yep,
big
and
slide. It looked cool, so he gets the vote for the coolness scale, but not the speedy way around the corner. He'll have to set up that move at a different point in the track, good sir. But definitely tackling to the back of it here. But we know there is a bit of pace in between the two, judging by their quality times. But if I was Tom, I'd be wanting to get this done in the next lap or 2 at the very least, something longer, and then you're going to start losing time to the guys ahead. And obviously, if you hadn't made up that time gap, you want to get that done as Costa gets a drive through, as we probably expected that was going to happen.
Yeah. No, that was certainly expected from that hit on Bab down at the chase. So that was, unfortunately, that was always going to happen, I dare say. So he'll have to jump into the pits and drive through and serve that one. As we see that both Giacomo and Hyde still have a pit.
Going for the long strap. Maybe just going to do 2 short stops at the end and almost do a splash and dash, as we see a bit of yellow in the elbow there. Looks like car 280, but I could be wrong on that. Could be Sakuna again. That'd have been a bit of a rough time, which it is. Porsche. So that's a bit of a greeting of the elbow.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a good race again for Cicluna. Thought he had a bad one last week at Valencia after the unfortunate race that he had where he actually had to retire, I believe in race 2 in fact. So he had a dog of a race once, so not a good run for Cicluna at the moment. Okay, still 2 rounds left in this, or there's a bit more than that actually. I think there's more than that.
There was 3 rounds. This
Yep.
was this one, and 2 remaining after this week.
Yep.
But there's still some time. But we've all had our moments where we have a couple of bad races or a little stint where we're not performing where we would like to perform. Obviously, it doesn't make it for fun times, but we do what we can regardless.
Absolutely. So top two still not pitting. The top four haven't pitted as of yet. So they're going for the long run here. And going for shorter stints later on. For the pit window, we do have opens 5 minutes into the race and closes with 5 minutes left, giving them that 60-minute window to pit wherever they wish to. So you can't just per se pit on that. Well, you can pit on that one, but it's not going to count towards your mandatory pit stop. So that's going to be over here is Sabrina just out of the dipper. Coming down, I reckon maybe he's locked the brakes into Forest Elbow. Yeah, oh, he's hit the wall and locked it, and that's going to be... there's going to be some damage there, but I think it's going to be okay, except for when you hit the wall like that.
I just find it very interesting if you see the replay. It's actually doing another lap, which is quite funny to watch. But back on a live feed, Fitney here still defending against Maloney. Maloney looked like a much better exit there through the chase. Excuse me. But coming to the last corner into Murray's, not quite close enough. Going to want to try and get a real good exit, and obviously try and capitalise on the exit at turn 1 as well, because that's when probably he's going to have the chance. Because obviously, as we know, the Lamborghini top speed, not the greatest. McLaren, far superior in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Barker and Guzman bite the bullet and jump into the pits. Will we finally see Giacomin or Hind or both come in the pits this lap? Of course, we're just under halfway into this race. Maloney going to try the outside again. I thought he might have learned from previous experience that that doesn't work, no matter how hard you try. That's okay. Down through the cutting again. Maybe Maloney just needs to bide time and wait until... I think Giacomin's finally pitted. He has. I just saw him slow down. Has he been followed by from Hind?
Yes.
Ooh.
Spice.
Who has the better pit stop? That's interesting. Maybe they were planning to run the same strategy there.
Yeah, not really sure. I think Connor may have just went the whole, if you're going to pit, I'm going to pit. Oh no, as Tom clips the wall on the entry and has a mega slide.
Well saved. That could have been much worse. Carter.
Oh dear.
Never mind. He has ruined somebody's race. I think that was Jake Brown looking at delivery. Malone doesn't want to go too far without getting disqualified. Car 32 is also around its way in, so another 2 people spinning at the same time. Complete opposite side of the tracks, basically. But Shooter just coming through as well. So now Maloney, I reckon, if I'm Maloney, I pit.
He's coming.
Those tyres will be cooked.
Yeah, I think now is the chance. Not chance, but now definitely time, especially after having that massive slide through Skyline and the S's and all that fun section of track that necessarily, as we see a replay here. Oh, what's happened here?
Ooh. I don't know.
Crossing the pit exit line?
Yeah, that's him coming out of the pit. Anyway, it's not a replay, but I saw them both hit that exit line, so I don't know if the stewards will look into that. I just was a bit concerned, so surely Maloney has to pit here and change straight. He's going to keep going. Maybe he's just going to push another couple of laps and just ensure that he can burn off some extra fuel that maybe he didn't use, or isn't going to use due to the pit stop that he might take early. He's going to fight with Rashuti though. I don't know if I'd be doing that on those tyres that are probably a little bit cooked. And they're probably squares now, in fact, so I don't know if I can call them tyres. Wirrawan's copped a 10-second penalty for a cruising on that 14, which is not ideal.
I think we might see, there is the potential that Tom might get a 10-2, depending on how he was moving on the track at the point, or if he was moving, the camera angle was potentially a bit of an unsafe rejoin, but I don't want to speculate too much on that. Angles were limited at the time. But if he did manage to keep it out of the wall, maybe it's not the worst thing to drive around. As you said, burn that little bit more tyre and fuel life off. Save the last sort of like 30-minute stint, so to speak, and repair the damage if you have any, and just see what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got to see what can be done here. They've got Barker up ahead, these two. I don't think they want to be fighting. Maloney just needs to try and keep it nice and clean. Down Skyline this time, and does. Don't think he wants to have a repeat. He might even get close. I actually, in saying that, getting close, maybe Maloney needs to pit now if he thinks he's, guarantee he probably has a penalty coming his way for a dangerous, I don't know if you can call it re-entry to the track, because it's not like it was off track.
No, we're definitely facing the wrong way. But yeah, once again, we're not the stewards at this race, so
No.
we're only speculating.
Not our problem.
Not our issue. Our
No,
issue is
exactly.
trying to pronounce race names and corners
Yes.
and things.
Yeah,
That's,
all of
that's
that.
hard enough for Adam at this time. But he gets a bit squirmy there. This has got to be an entry
Pit,
surely.
pit.
And he
He's not
says no.
listening. No.
Yep, race engineer to
Just-
Tom Maloney. Can you
Yeah.
copy?
Can you hear it? Yeah. No, that evidently can't hear us, but he's just going to keep going here. Hines lost a fair chunk to Jed Coleman as well, so that's not really what you want to see. Of course, one pit stop still to come here for both drivers, so maybe Hines can make up the time with that pit stop. Luke Johnson is on for a podium here at the moment with that 10-second from Hignett, though.
Yes, indeed. I was about to say that. So that'll be P3 overall, but also P1 in class. Johnson definitely looking very speedy. There is the potential if he keeps going on these decent top-end results. Welcome to the Pro Class badge coming your way.
Cool, absolutely. I reckon there'll be a pro class badge coming his way either towards the end of this season or there's only 2 rounds left, so I reckon he'll keep this badge, but next season, watch out.
Welcome to the top step, but Maloney here still lapping decently. Got a little bit held up there by the blue flag of the Porsche, but as we know, not the easiest things to navigate blue flags, especially over the mountain. There's only literally about 2 spots you can do it. Oh, it gets all crossed up again. Lucky to keep it out of the wall again. I mean, if that was me, I would have ended up in the wall 16 times by now. And my race suit would have lots of shades of brown.
Yes, exactly right. And I reckon that Maloney's probably will, after that slide, he had down Skyline thinking, yeah, this could be my race, but held it nicely, used holding the brakes where needed. He's got a good gap to Secluna behind, since Secluna does have that damage. And Secluna's not going to push. Yeah, there's the 15-second. It's not obviously for a rejoin, because you can't really rejoin per se, but did hit Jake Brown when the slide happened, so it's his not an ideal situation to say the least.
No, especially
Yeah,
carrying damage.
there it
Well,
was.
we thought that was going to happen, so going to take it on the chin, serve the 15 seconds, get that last half an hour, get the fresh tyres, may as well repair the damage in here as well. You come out in a brand spanking new car, you're not lapping the fastest at 203s at the moment, where we know he's capable of 2 flats, so I dare say fresh rubber, obviously, lighter fuel loads, get rid of all the unwantedness of those hooked tyres, and see what you can do once the penalty
Yeah, absolutely. Luke Johnson now is actually fighting with Ben Hignett here. Don't know what I'd do in this situation, because Hignett's got a 10 seconds, so why should you be fighting him? Would Hignett let him pass? They're not fighting for class, they're fighting for overall, yes. But if he's got that 10 second, should he just let Johnson go past?
I mean, if it was me,
Johnson's in the wall, so no.
I was gonna say, well, if I had done the choice before the wall contact, I would have said,
Yeah,
the
maybe.
car's coming faster. I'm already 10 seconds behind. Yeah, okay, just sort of have it, just tackle it back. But if now that you've damaged, well, my foot's gonna stay planted to the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just Johnson take this opportunity to box and do a half an hour stint. It's not going to be the most ideal situation, I understand that. Oh, he does have some
Damage.
a bit of steering damage. I don't know if it's going to be enough to have an effect. Maybe it does pit now. No, it just sticks it out. Maybe it's going to be enough just to... Oh, that 50-metre braking board's gone, so that's going to throw a few people off.
Luckily, I don't use the 50-metre braking board, so that's fine.
Oh, lucky you. That's all right then. Down to towards turn 1 now. Johnson's got a little bit of time to make up that was lost before. He's got Vincent a 6.5 behind. Jake Brown's 5 behind. He's got a 5-second penalty. Is that going to put him behind Barker? I don't think so. So he's not really, 10 seconds behind. So he's not really going to be affected too much by that. Rashudi jumps into the pits now. So Rashudi has gone for some earlier pit stop strategies, trying to get some undercuts in there, which is certainly a nice way to do things.
Yeah, hard to say what the strategy is at this point in the game, but obviously, the flag territory, tyre life, fuel burn, all the fun things that obviously we don't have the data in front of us of each car, but those boys definitely do. Half hour isn't the worst stint to do on a set of tyres around here, especially in these conditions. It's still running optimum, 22-30 degrees, so it's pretty solid. A little bit of a breeze, nothing too much, but yeah, it all depends on where they were on the track at the moment. How much flag territory. They all know what's going on with their relative time sheets and that. So it'll be interesting to see now that we've got the start of the front runners ticking off both their inventory, where this field will lay out over the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. 28 minutes left, 23 in the pit window. So will we see any late pitters? Really don't think so. Currently, temperatures on track, 22 degrees ambient at the moment with 30 degrees on track. 6k an hour, northeasterly winds coming towards the chase. So that's certainly going to up the top speeds a little bit there, which means they just need to pull their braking points just maybe a bit earlier. I reckon maybe about half a car length earlier, just to make sure they can get the car pulled up. They've got a bit more of a headwind into turn one, so they can probably be a little bit more late on the brakes if they wish to be by now. But we can only speculate these things. A little bit of a slide.
Bit of a slide just after he punches out his fastest lap of a 2.9. So Johnson definitely on pace, catching back up to Hignan here, even if he did have a bit of damage from clipping that wall earlier. But Johnson won't just want to let Hignan disappear either. I don't think you want to sit behind for too long as well, even though he has got that 10 seconds. The racer in August just wants to, excuse me, you've got a pen, can you get out of the way? I want to proceed on with my drive, thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Johnson at the moment, I think he's caught 4 tenths in the last 2 laps. And that leaves him 26 minutes left. If he pulls another, say, 4 tenths, it's another 2 laps. That's going to get him around the 20, just over the 20-minute mark. So left in this race. So maybe that might be an optimal time to pit him, even maybe next lap or so. If he wants to, maybe he's got some damage to repair. As long as it's not 10 seconds, then he might be okay. If he's got a different strategy, if he's got an overcut, maybe he's got to stick it out. He might lose time fighting. It's certainly a hard run Ben carrying 15 seconds of damage. That's not great.
That might explain the pace difference.
I have carried something like 14 seconds or 17 seconds of damage here in a Ferrari on the front. I can't say I recommend it, but for strategy purposes I could understand it. Oh, Giacomo just needs the fastest lap off Hind there with a 2 flat 5.25. This is hopping up here a bit, even though Hind has pulled that gap in since the pit stop by about just under a second.
Split, as we see, well and truly up the road there to that behind the moment. 2. So the battle for P3 is not really in contention at the moment. 10 seconds looming over the hidden, so Johnson's going to be well and truly out in no man's land very shortly. Fighting for positions, but definitely right on the rear bumper now with Stevens. And you want to get the job done pretty smartly, especially if he is carrying damage now. He'll probably be slowed this lap, or especially the next couple laps if he doesn't get the job done. But then that could also be an opportunity to duck into the pits. 20 odd minutes remaining. First set of rubber, and off you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnson's been pretty consistent. We've seen so the last few races. Has been in the top 5, had some good results. Clooney's in the pits as well. So Johnson's had a good run in the silver class. So if he doesn't get a promotion, I will be shocked.
Thank you for the dad pun.
Nah, not a dad.
Yeah, but I'll still pay it. You're allowed to sort of get one. as the both exit the elbow here. Looks like Johnson probably got the faster of the exit, but is he close enough with the damaged Merc ahead? We'll soon find out. It does look like that gap's a lot closer. 3/10 at the last split line. What's going to happen is you're going to try and poke the nose and go on the inside, and
Yes.
then going to defend. No, they both take the smarter option and go, nah, not here, thank you, not quite close enough. Kind of just says, I know you had my fastest lap,
5 1,000s difference.
there's
Yeah,
the pit.
Johnson bites it. Yeah,
Yep, smart
good
call,
strategy.
Johnson. But yeah, whatever you can do, Gia Coleman, clearly I can do better. And just takes that 5 thousandths off his lap time once his purple and extra points back. As we're going to see, hopefully, Johnson does a decent job. Danny here running in P8, did start P10.
Good stuff.
So has improved, especially when it was a bit further back. I think it was P18, I think, at one point there. So very good recovery drive from that side of things, doing well. And obviously the program leader at the moment. And actually,
maybe. No, sticks it out. I mean, it's only provisional at the moment. Danny still has to pit, so it might not necessarily be a P8 once the pit stop has been completed, of course.
But also just going to point out massive gap between the class P1 to P2 because Kong is sitting down in P20. So there's no real stress about losing P1 in class at the moment for Danny, but don't know whether they will be aware of that at this point in time. But 22 minutes remaining in the race. Yes, that is a word now. That's going to curse me for a while.
Yeah, someone clipped that for Kovac's purposes.
Kovac's purposes, where they continue to
take the piss out of you. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it's there for.
That's the only reason the team exists.
Yeah, exactly. To take the piss out of you. Gia Coleman and Hind at the moment, though, certainly not taking the piss because their pace has been unbelievable. 2 seconds just under Hind is to Gia Coleman. So maybe Hind, I'd be going for an undercut. You just see a Ferrari jump in the pits there. You can see Gia Coleman in his sights. Doesn't necessarily mean I reckon we should go for this as of yet. It's Costa just up ahead as well. So needs to be, I reckon, a blink here from Hind. Oh, but the blue flag's going to let him past. I would have, if I was Connor, I would have maybe, if the blue flag wasn't going to let me past, I would have stuck behind and maybe just snuck into the pits without Gia Coleman really seeing and just see if he noticed, may cause him to pull out a different strategy.
Yeah, but luckily there, the blue flag saw what was happening and did the right thing to go out of the way. Gave Connor a bit of a nice handy toe up Mountain Straight there. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a game of who blinks first. Because, I mean, 2 seconds isn't a whole lot on track, but between these two, that's quite substantial. But does he dive in? Well, as we see Greco getting a 5 second 10 for ignoring blue flags. That was on lap 13, so that was 10 laps ago. So clearly the stewards are quite busy with the things that have been happening across the mountain, which is not unexpected here. But at the moment, I'm not sure what I would do if I was Connor. I mean, if you come in now, then you're going to have a little bit worse tyres in the last sort of few minutes. But, I mean, how good are you on a 20-minute stint? As Tom's going to get blue flag here to Luca, he's going to get one hell of a toe as well.
Ooh, absolutely. This is not really an ideal situation for Maloney, just because he's going to get blue flagged a little bit here. Hind's not in a good position either because he's got 2 blue flag cars ahead, which could slow him down if they don't yield in a reasonable matter of time. So is this where Hind pits, or does Gia Coleman force him to blink? No, sticks it out. Is Connor going to follow? No. Okay, that's 1 car less to worry about. Richardson, Bab both in the pits now, so still the top 8 yet to pit. So originally Gia Coleman Hind still the top 2. Hignet's going to drop with that 10 seconds. And you also see that Johnson has pit and is ahead of the rest that have completed their pit stops. So provisionally he's the leading driver that has pit. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see where Johnson comes out in terms of Hignet, because he does have the damage, and we'll be able to see if the damage has been repaired or not.
Yeah, so you'll see him quite a substantial distance up the road from Hignet, but that's what happens when you have to serve some damage and penalty time. But Tom here, just tacking on the back here of Luca, going to try and use this little bit of toe across the mountain, try and, I guess, find yourself in a good position that if Connor does get a bit closer across the mountain, you can sort of yield in a non-time lost way, so to speak. You know, maybe into the braking zone, or he's close enough into the elbow, you can sort of tuck in behind on the exit type deal, but definitely won't want to lose much more ground than he already has to his fellow racers, and who he actually is battling on track. I'm not sure at the moment, but obviously with that pen, that's pulled him back down the order just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of drivers now pitting. Hacky, Yesman both in the pits. Costa, Kong in the pits. Vincent Barker not in the pits. So Barker seems to be running those longer stints. So I wouldn't be going too much longer, or else you're not going to get a total advantage. With the strategy, you could be running Hines, dropped back a long way from Jed Coleman. It was 1.9 behind, well, I guess only about 3 laps ago. It's now 2.7, so maybe the traffic's just been in Jed Coleman's favour a little bit. He's still going to keep going. Does Hines come in the pits? No. Maybe he's just trying to mimic what Jed Coleman's doing.
It is a shout, but whether it is the right shout, I don't know. Especially if you're losing time. Maybe it's a shout to get in that extra, you know, fresh rower, get that extra lap on the better tyres earlier than what Luca is. Because if Luca has just got this car dialed in and he's sort of punching up those massively quick, consistent times, you almost have to try something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, there could be an interesting. The pit time minimums, what did you say earlier? It was about 56 seconds, I think you said, was for a tyre stop.
Yep. 56 seconds for a tyre stop. So, Vinton has jumped in the pits now, so we'll see where that provisionally puts him. Johnson's actually ahead of Hignett now, 8.5, so Hignett hasn't repaired that damage.
He actually gained a bit of time back on Johnson. Obviously, 10 seconds, it should have held up, but Johnson could have had a compromised entry too. So we're not sure how the entry went, or the exits, or whether there was missed pit box, because obviously your car gets pushed back a little bit up on jacks and all that kind of fun stuff. So at the moment, 9 seconds behind Johnson is Hignett, which is about where we expected it to be honest. But obviously, the car's still drivable with the amount of damage that Hignett has got on. But as you see here, Luca's about to come up to a lot of blue flags.
Yeah, 3 more. And those 2 at the head there, the Porsche, I think that's an M4. Look to actually maybe be fighting. It is. And that's Cicluna's livery. I can't really miss that livery in Satria, but Satria hasn't pitted yet, so I reckon Satria needs to just get out of the way. Cicluna's got a unfortunate amount of damage on that car, ruining the lovely running livery. Satria does go into the pits. Cicluna's got another Porsche behind. Giacomo pits. That is the right call, and so does Hind. That's probably not the right call. Bad stop there from Connor as well, just trying to find all the time on the entry where possible. Still don't think it's going to be enough though.
I was going to say, it looked like he may have caught a little bit up there, because I think Luca may have been compromised entry due to the Beamer there ahead of him actually potentially slowing the entry. Because I don't think a lot of people have practiced entries. I mean, I'm a shocker for practicing pit entries, because I just sort of don't until 3 minutes into where I need to do a pit stop, and then I just guess. So yeah, it could be interesting, but kind of just, I guess, you go first, I'm going to follow, and hopefully you can pull something out over the top of the mountain. As we're on board here with Johnson here, currently P4, as the leaders P1 and P2 are not going to be anywhere near the territory to gain a P1 or P2, because I think at the point when he pitted earlier, he was something like sub 15-20 seconds behind them on track. But at the moment, Danny, our Pro-Am and rest of it, is ducked into the pit, so we'll see that Johnson will probably come out ahead of Danny and take a provisional P3.
Yeah, absolutely. So Giacomo and Hind both come out of the pits. Still that gap there. We can see Vinton has actually jumped into provisional P4 as well, so that's a really good one there, but Hignett's going to be right on him pretty quickly, I dare say. And Hignett's got no one that he's really fighting with. Rashid is a bit further down the road, just coming down the final corner now. So, if anything, Hignet's got a bit of work to do if he wants to get back up into that top 5.
Yeah, 13 minutes remaining, so what's that, about 7 laps-ish?
Where are they? Yeah, I'd say about 7 laps to go.
Yeah, of this, some people love it, some people hate it, but it's still a decent track. So yeah, there you go, there's P3 for Johnson and also P1 in class. We'll be out in the middle of no man's land. You've got a 20-second gap up to Connor up the road, but also an 8-second gap to Whitman behind. So I think, yeah, welcome to a very boring, so to speak, 13 minutes of hot lapping for you, sir.
Welcome to the game of keep it consistent here with Luke Johnson.
Yes. Something that I'm very good at until I'm not.
Oh, that's not ideal. Something that is ideal for Maloney, but not ideal for Cicluna, is this battle that is brewing. Cicluna is holding that first 10 position there, and Maloney probably wants a piece of that. Of course, they're in 2 different classes, so they're not really fighting for anything between each other, and not really fighting for anything in class. So it's more so just the overall position here. Half second off is Maloney to Cicluna's got Hackey only 5 seconds behind. This is not good for Maloney's championship, though, to say the least.
As I was just about to say that, he'll want to get a few more posies if he can, but I think at the moment, Cicluna's the only one who can. Or he might be able to get on board with Danny being 2.7 up the road if he gets the job done on Cicluna very soon. But much better exit there from Tom, it would appear. See if the McLaren has the leg over the Porsche in a straight line. Also a bit of blue flagging there. Does well to get out the way. Looks like that McLaren's got some legs on it at the moment. Which way is he going to go? He's going to go around the outside, which is going to be the inside in the chase, and gets the job done.
Oh,
That was sketchy. As our racers know, there is a very nasty bump on that inside of the chase there. Scary times if you hit it.
No, what do you mean?
I mean, you just become a bit of an aeroplane for, like, you know, long enough that you don't want to sit in your chair anymore.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Down to turn 1 now. Does Maloney go? He's up into the top 10. Currently sat P247 in class at the moment, so it's not in an ideal situation for points, of course. Overall, doesn't matter too much. Only just the class you're in. Of course, we've got the 4 classes. We've got the Pro, we've got the Silver, we've got Pro-Am, and we have the Am class as well. Hackey is currently leading the Am class, only 2.5 seconds ahead of Richardson. We've got Danny commandingly leading the Pro-Am class, and we've got Johnson commandingly again leading the Silver class in this point of the race. 22 ambient on track, 29 on track, 22 ambient. So it's come down ever so slightly. It's just ticked past 4 o'clock in game with 10 minutes left. That 6 km/h wind is still there. Maloney's just absolutely brown flagged that one. That one even had me on the edge of my seat. I thought that was going to be in the wall if he wasn't too careful there.
Yeah, as we all know, if you just get the slightest bit crossed up, this mountain is unforgiving. It takes no prisoners. It punishes you all the same, regardless of how many times you do not kiss the wall. When you do kiss it, it's gonna hurt. Bathurst is renowned for that, at least in my experience. I'm pretty sure you have a very similar one. But yeah, Tom doing as much as he can here to track down the beamer of Danny, because he'll want to get those extra points. I'm not sure what the difference is between P9 and P10. I don't think it's much, but in terms of championship status, he'll want to try and get as much back as he can compared to the gap that Connor's going to be pulling over him, and Luca is going to take a fair chunk out of him as well.
Yes, absolutely. Jed Coleman at the moment has pulled out that gap to Hind, 3.2. So Hind needs to really pull all the stops out here if he wants any chance of winning. But that's certainly looking quite tough. He does have fastest lap of the race to Jed Coleman, only by 5 1,000ths, which is just shows the closeness of the racing that those two have had up until this point.
fast, but not at that skill level yet. I mean, it doesn't help that I've had a bit of seat time considering
No.
lack of wheel and things, but that's fine. If I managed to put time in chair, then I would still not be fast enough, but that's fine. As we're watching the final few laps here, 8 minutes 40 remaining in the race. Still on board here with Tom Maloney, who started on P3. Unfortunately got caught up in turn 1 incident, and then unfortunately decided to go Tokyo drift down the skyline and unfortunately hit someone in the process. Had a bit of a shocker, but overall not too bad. Recovering back into the top 10 after serving damage and time and all that kind of stuff. So not the worst result, but obviously critiquing himself slightly. I mean, after all that is said and done, that's not bad, really.
No, it's not bad. I mean, he's still got 5 laps here, so you can get past Danny. He's still got, I think it's like 10 or more seconds to Barker, so that'll be probably his race done and dusted, just trying to cement that P9 position down through the chase now. Braking just after the 150, getting the car pulled up nicely. Good use of the curb there, just tapping it a bit. Then out and under the gantry down towards the final corner. Hind has lost another 0.2 of Giacomo, so he's really starting to struggle.
Yeah, I think he just had that car dialed in on this track. I'm not saying Connor isn't doing a fantastic job, but I think Luca's just showing the better part of the speed at this point. And you can just see as Tom gets, it looks like it's a much better exit there on turn 1 for Danny. Danny's going to go real deep on the inside line, not going to want to give it too much track. Tom's going to try and go around the outside for like the 5th time tonight.
Yeah,
but this
gets
time
through.
has
Danny
the
let him
speed.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny let him through. I think that was a fair call from Danny just to let him through. 2 different classes. And
Not really his race.
Danny to lose, yeah. I mean, he's winning pro and class by quite a margin at the moment, so certainly wouldn't be complaining with a top 10 finish and a Pro Am class win. 6 minutes to go. There's a yellow flag, 54. That's Brown.
Well, yeah, as we just said, Luca go for a 2-minute 0.4, so Connor lost fastest lap. That's incredible pace considering the quali time for pole was only 3.5 tenths faster than that. So yeah, just on a 2 flat 0. So he's almost on quali pace, which is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Good times there. Brown just had a bit of a moment there through McPhillamy. Touch of damage on the front there you can see on that RTM Motorsport 54 car. It's not an ideal situation. And he's going to have Maloney come through on this one. This is for class position and overall position. So this is just what Maloney wanted to serve to him on a silver plate.
Yeah, I think you can smell the blood in the water, so to speak, especially with that Porsche. Looking very sad, a bit of probably more than a bit of damage on the front end there by the look of it. But definitely going to be pushing Maloney up here. He'll be seeing that and going, also look at the gap. The gap was quite substantial, but he's now only just over a second. So Tom has been gifted this lovely chance at P8. As we see the replay, what's happened here? He's
lost on the curb.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Or did he keep it out of the...
No.
Ooh.
Oh, we got Flappy Bonnet as well. There's going to be Flappy Bonnet. Yeah, the joys.
Flappy Bonnet's not ideal.
No, definitely not. But sometimes I've also found myself facing that wall at excessive speeds is quite high, so that's fine. We've all been there, done that. Especially when you are sort of pushing the boundaries. As we see a 5-second penalty come through for an incident on lap 29. Not sure what that is, but I dare say maybe a blue flag. Not sure on that one, but Brown here going to be trying to put the pedal to the metal to gap Maloney a little bit. Was at 1.1. Maloney's had a bit of a terrible first sector, down at 1.4 at the moment. It looks like he kissed the inside wall there.
It was the slightest kiss, yeah. It's not... probably not going to give Maloney a whole lot of hope knowing that thing has damage, and this thing does not handle damage all that... Yeah, no, that's not good. Seeing the way that thing's handled. 4 minutes to go, not ideal. Still 3 laps in this, and I think Brown wishes that this was the final lap at this point. 4 seconds behind to Giacomin, so that is certainly, I dare say, almost done and dusted for Giacomin. Just needs to keep it consistent now. Johnson again, another good finish, P3 on the cards. Got almost a 10-second gap to Vinton and out.
That's always good to see. The other classes up on the steps of the podium nonetheless, but I don't think it's going to be too much longer because Johnson's going to be getting a nice white badge attached to the side of his car next season, I dare say, but Tom here back on this board. Only 6 tenths behind, 4 tenths I should say. Oh, he's coming to turn 1. I thought that was almost going to be contact there, but manages to pull it up and get onto the apex, and he's going to definitely tuck into the slipstream of the Porsche. You see McLaren team in a straight line has definitely got a. Oh, that's a bit sort of wide. Keeps one wheel on the grass. That's a bit of bumping play on. I dare say a number would have been filled there. That's definitely going to get reviewed to see how much track was left and was there racing room. But Brown decided to duck in behind Maloney here and let the job sort of get done and dusted and move on. But 2 laps remaining. I dare say this fight is not over.
No, I'd say you'd be right. There's still plenty left in this. But what can be done? Brown's got Danny behind. Of course, that is just for overall position, not for class. Bit of a tap of the wall there. So we've got second to last lap. Giacomin's just passed on to now. So anything can happen. Maloney might lose it again. I don't think he will because he's kept it pretty straight for the most part in this couple of last laps in this stint. Ruan still has that little penalty from before with the incident. That was had Jake Brown's probably going to get overtaken here from the M4 just with the straight line. M4 should be getting the slipstream, but Maloney is giving a little bit of slipstream to Brown, so anything can happen here.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough. I think unfortunately now that Maloney's got that fresh air, he's can sort of stretch the legs of his McLaren, and that was considering how much he was actually off the track up the mountain straight, that was a really solid effort. 1, keep that car going straight.
Yeah.
And 2, to actually get the position in turn 2, which my hat goes off to you, sir. So congrats on that overtake. And as you said, the gap here has extended quite severely. But Danny will be seeing how easy Tom got around here, and definitely going to want to take a piece of that. Will obviously push him back up into P9, which is where he was before Tom overtook him. So let's see Beamer versus Porsche in the background here, as Maloney's definitely gapped these two. Already gained, what's that, so 1.8 over Brown in that last sort of sector and a half. So he's definitely moving on about his job, but I don't think, unless something else gets gifted to him, Barker's just a little bit too far up the road with this last lap remaining, obviously. Or one more after this, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Giacomin and Hind will be passing into the final lap just in about 10 seconds time as they come through the final corner. Maloney breathing a sigh of relief. Good recovery from him after the turn 1 tap that he got back down to P7 he went, and is back up to P8, which is where he wants to be. Danny is still trying to hunt down Brown. I reckon it's going to come down maybe to a final lap or down Conrod straight type situation. I say that even Skyline he might even just taps the brakes nice and early there just to make sure no incident can be caused here. Through the dipper they come now. Brown does have that damage, so it's not going to particularly help him down the straight. Porsche was already unideal on the straight unless Danny gets a bad exit. No, it was Brown with the bad exit, so things go from bad to worse for him.
The straight line of the beam is going to come into play here. I don't know, it looks close enough, but obviously we don't know the exact split. It was 4 tenths as they crossed the second line. Oh, here's the speed difference. Yeah, going to get it done and dusted well before the corner. And I think this is an easy, there you go, easy overtake. Very nicely done.
Yep.
And Danny back up into P9. Oh, gets a bit crossed up there. Will he hold it?
No, I don't think he will.
He's going
to go side by side. Yep, still there. Brown doesn't want to give this one up. Might go early in the brakes, go for the switch back. Looked for it, but Danny just put the car in an almost perfect position there, which caused Brown probably just had to lift a tad there just to make sure there was no incident and get through down out of turn 1 on the final lap here. As Giacomin is going to hold off Connor Hind here. 3.7 seconds, 3.8 essentially. Got the lead on lap 1 through turn 1 just after a little bit of a kerfuffle there, but has held it brilliantly. Down through the chase now, second to last corners will come up then under the gantry to the final corner. We'll take the win here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah,
for the
Luca has
70-minute
actually
race.
made a liar out of me because I say you can't win a race on lap 1, turn 1, and here he is. Lap 1, turn
he's
1
certainly proven
victory
that point.
has proved me wrong. So congratulations to Luca taking P1. Connor Hine going to come around in P2, and as we go on to Johnson, who's had an absolute mega drive today. I can't remember whereabouts he has started the race, but coming into the final corner, going to take the bottom step of the podium and also the outright win for silver class. Mega drive. Well done, Johnson. Oh, look at that. He's happy. There's a happy.
Yeah, he's happy with that one. And I think he should be. He drove well. Little mistakes, couple of taps of the wall. He should be very pleased with that. And Vinton is going to come across the line now.
Oh,
and lost it. Lost it with
has got
the
on
final
the
corner. That is insane stuff. Just lost that 15 thousandths there. The gap. Rashudi's going to come across the line for P6. Barker will not be too far behind in the 13 Ferrari to take P7. Maloney with a good recovery after the lap 1 incident will take home P8 for the Gingerbread Man car. Trying to keep the hopes alive in the championship, is doing as much as possible. Danny's going to come across the line for the Pro-Am win here, and P9, good race overall, and Jake Brown's going to come across for the final top 10 position with a really damaged front end on that Porsche. That's not very nice.
No, and I think there's a bit of frustration there, but I think a lot of these drivers are going to be glad that this race is done and dusted. But that was an insane amount of racing to be had. There was always something going on. I mean, it was pretty crazy to even watch like that last corner. Ben getting that overtake done, final drag down to the last one. As Babsy comes across the line there for P14. Welcome back to the season. And that is a split green done and dusted. There we see the Porsche exit stage left. And I'm going to put it in your hand, Cogsy, to just do the final wrap-up of this evening's festival.
Lucky me. We'll have a look at the final standings for the overall. Firstly here, Giacomin takes a win from Connor Hines there in P2, Johnson for P3. In the silver class, of course, we have Johnson who took the win. Barker takes a nice P2 there, and Cicluna, after an unfortunate race, takes P3. Over in the Pro-Am class, we have Danny, who drove brilliantly with a top 10 finish, takes the Pro-Am win with Kong and Go there. For the podium positions, Hackey takes the win in the M class, not too far behind him was Richardson and Yuzman there to take the final step on the podium in the M class, Mr. Bubnow.
Yeah, some fantastic racing, and obviously there is much more to come. We still have 2 more splits tomorrow night. And then we have the US region and European region. And then also we have the GT Cup on Friday. So much more racing still to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing the rest of the races that we get this week. Of course, do stay tuned in tomorrow for Split Blue and Split Red. And of course, stay tuned in on Friday for the GT3 Cup, where we're also off at round 4 in the finals to Mount Panorama.
Fantastic. All right, chat and Mr. Hobbs, I'm going to bid you all adieu. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time.
We shall.